Namaste, and welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera, and I am joined, as always, by my two blissful co-hosts, Katie.
Hello.
And Livy.
I'm trying to summon inner peace.
Are you opening your chest?
Yeah.
Because you're preparing to be Alanis, that's why.
Yeah, that's right. That's how I become Alanis.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. We're back to the good stuff.
Woo!
That's what's happening. And we are very excited, aren't we?
Yes. We are super excited. This is actually the first time we've recorded an episode in over a month.
How dare you? We record every day.
All day. Every day.
So if you sense some glee, it's not only that we're on a really amazing episode of Xena, we're just happy to be back and recording for you guys.
We missed you guys. All right, so before we get to our episode, we do have Alanis in the house. Let's do this Patreon.
Namaste, Vera.
Namaste, Alanis.
Thank you, Ainsley.
Woo! Thank you.
Alanis, your hair looks really good today.
Thank you. I condition.
Okay.
She's good.
Okay, great. I'm so happy. God, she's such a bitch.
Was it? Oh, I just remembered Alanis in Dogma. Isn't she God?
She is.
God in
she
Dogma.
Sure is. Mm-hmm. All right. So today we are talking about 413. I mean, we're officially past the hump, right?
Yes.
Literally, because it's the bad ones are done.
Yeah, and we're more than halfway through
season 4.
So we are rolling.
Holy shit.
Down them Himalayas.
Yes, that's definitely where we are.
Yeah. And we are talking about 413 Paradise Found, written by Chris Mannheim and directed by our own Rob Tapert.
Does he belong to us?
He's ours now.
Well, okay, this is really exciting for a lot of reasons. One is that Chris Mannheim wrote this.
Yeah.
Who'd have guessed?
Yeah.
She did write my favorite episode.
Yes.
And now has she written
my favorite episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we know
one of your favorites?
Where is this on the top 10? Is it on the top 10?
It's not in the
top 10.
No. Come on, fandom.
I've lost track of the top 10 at this
You know
point.
that
it's definitely not on there.
Yeah.
Does it? No, there's not even an honorable mention or something.
Honorable mention for Olivia's favorite.
Olivia, you do have unconventional faves, that's
true.
why they're never going to be on a top 10.
I was kind of hoping that fandom would back me up on this, because I think this one's so gay and sexy.
Quite.
Yeah.
Which is why I totally was like,
so shocked.
Chris wrote this?
Yeah, we're
like,
stunned.
Rob directing it, I know that Rob is an ally, but like, Chris?
We're too mean.
We love you,
She absolutely
Chris.
is, and you know it.
Yeah, we love to rag on Chris for her hetero agenda, but she really knocked this one out of the park. Mm-hmm. Just not just in a gay way, but just in a great story way. Yeah, I love this episode so much, you guys.
It's very good.
I think it would be higher for me if not for some factors.
Okay, we're gonna get to those.
Those are very unfortunate.
This is Rob's first directing gig since Destiny season 2. Okay. So he's obviously tried to direct, I think, both Bittersweet and The Debt, right?
Yeah,
Those were
episodes
that at a certain point he realized he just couldn't because of scheduling.
Right.
It seems like he just came in here in part because this is a bottle episode.
Right.
And he wanted to elevate it. Which I think is
I think he did.
Classy. Yeah, I think he absolutely did. I can definitely picture a bad version of this.
Oh, yeah.
It's very easy to fuck this up.
Yeah.
It's so specific in its kind of goals.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And also it just, it has very little plot. So you don't have to work very hard this time, Vera.
There's 4 people
I don't know. I have 20 million pages of notes.
I have the most notes I've...
They're all about
honestly...
her braids, though, your notes.
Shut up.
And abs. I assume there's a lot of abs in there.
There are some, and yes.
And backs. Are there any backs?
Yes. But, I really think that this is like for one episode that's like a one-off. This is the most pages of notes.
Because it's just so character rich.
I had almost double the amount of notes.
I stupidly was just like writing down every line. I was like, oh,
because every line's like amazing.
Oh, that one sounds important.
I think both Rob and Chris do this really amazing thing where the scenes to me feel like each of them maybe is like a minute longer than you'd expect. Like they're really letting the material breathe. They're really letting the characters just sort of be in each other's spaces.
Yeah, like marinate.
In silence.
Yeah.
Sometimes for a really long time. And, you know, it's either really tense or really intimate or both.
Yes.
So see, everything felt like a character moment, which in a plot-heavy episode gets cut.
Right.
So that's why we have so many notes.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we begin with some bad weather B-roll.
Ooh, are you excited about the bad weather B-roll?
Why should I be excited about it, Katie?
What? Come on, Vera.
Is it because it's the same bad weather B-roll as the opening of the X-Files?
Yes, it is.
I really wanted them to put Trust No One on there.
I know. I was waiting for
that's
it.
That's good advice for Gabs.
Exactly. She really needs it.
I wanted them to fly from the sky, like in the X-Files credits, like into a hand.
Into a hand.
I mean, there is a lot of stuff flying into hands.
That definitely happens in season 5, though. So
oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
So yeah, these gals are headed to India for Gabrielle's spiritual quest.
Now, see, I liked this bit of kind of added in dialogue where, you know, upon rewatching it, I was struck by how Gabrielle must have been like, "Hey, Xena, I want to go to India for my spiritual quest." And Xena was like, "Sure."
Okay.
Wow, that scene, Katie. You just should write them all.
I see why that got cut.
I don't know. That just struck me because, like, it wasn't like they just, you know how they just go places? They didn't, like, just go there and end up there as, like, part of their adventuring around and going around. Like, Gabrielle specifically was like, I would like to go here.
How do you know?
I didn't recall that.
How do you know it wasn't Xena's idea to go to India?
It wasn't.
Gabrielle could have been like, oh, I have a spiritual quest. Where can we go? And Xena could be like, I just heard this place is India.
Well, Gabrielle immediately busts out with, you know, how these mountains are also a holy place. So clearly she's done her research. She went on TripAdvisor. And was just like, guys, where can I go for my spiritual quest?
Yeah. So while we're on this quest, like, let's kind of maybe situate where we are. And in the mise-en-scène, like, we're definitely in the Himalayas.
Yeah.
Right? But this is kind of considered a prequel to the India arc because it kind of sets the tone and sets everything in motion.
Yeah.
But then when they actually get there, you have Gabrielle kind of reacting. So, like, I guess they're not there yet?
No,
they're in the mountains.
They're literally taking the scenic route.
Right.
You know, and it is through these mountains.
Yeah.
So
we're finding them in the middle of their journey, but certainly not at their end.
No, absolutely not.
I do think it's actually really, like, super ambitious and worthy of praise that they have this long arc kind of planned out. You know, this is more ambitious even than China, which was just a two-parter and wasn't called out in advance.
Yeah.
The fact that we're slowly setting this up, I think, is, again, like a point for season 4, which is so well plotted consistently throughout.
So we are in a cave, and we have a trail of clothes, as per usual.
yeah, just pan across it.
That goes back all the way to Altered States, the fishing scene.
And we have a naked Gabs under some skins.
Skins. Why don't you call them furs? You do this every time.
Actually, this is a fur because you wear it. Skin is like what you like sleep under or like whatever.
I just totally disagree.
Right. So it's a lot of furs. Actually, I really love Xena's look because she's not naked. She has her outfit on, but she has the fur. It's like it almost looks like her China coat.
They both look like immediate post-bath hair going on.
Was
right?
post-rain.
So, post-rain. I
mean,
bad
X-Files
weather.
You know, there's no bath in the cave.
They might have found a hot spring down there.
No. The clothes are like drying off.
They're like from the rain.
That
wet.
makes sense. They're wet from the rain. It just they just looked like they smelled good. I
think they smelled bad.
They would be clean from the rain.
No, because they were in a fight. Remember with the local thugs.
Yeah, the local thugs. Vera, did you like how it's described? And it's clearly like a Stooges thing. She like picked one up and threw him into 3 who all fell down like dominoes.
I hated it.
Even just being described.
Yes, Rob, why do you do this to me?
I really like the whole decision though to have this like kind of in medias res like post combat thing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's one less fight scene that we have to watch in this episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just really, I don't know, somehow cozy to kind of intrude on their conversation in the middle and kind of hear, trying to figure out what's going on. Because first you just see Gabs with the needle and you're like, what's going on? Is she sewing something? Is she doing her needlepoint?
Right.
And then you realize that she's sewing up Xena's leg after a fight. So I just thought it was a really nice, slow reveal.
Although I would have loved to see Xena sustain this big gash on her leg.
You wanted it throughout the episode?
Well, no, I just we never really see her get hurt, in fights.
I know. Why were these thugs so good at fighting?
I don't know. Well, anyway, Gabrielle is attempting to sew it up, and they do a bit of conversation here about how maybe Xena picked the fight, maybe Xena wanted to fight.
She smiled.
Well, she's calling her out on the truth, which is Xena always does this.
Yeah,
classic Xena.
I can't believe it took this long for Gabrielle to bring this subject up.
Yeah.
Yes, it seemed like a point of contention in message boards and things that all of a sudden Gabrielle decided to be questioning this aspect as if it was new to her.
Yeah, and this is previously something she actually would watch from the bushes and love to see.
It's true.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I think she, like the audience, you can love something for years and then look at it and go, hey, maybe it's problematic.
Uh-oh.
Right.
Coinage, I suppose.
Oh, because you said it, yeah.
But yeah, I like that, and I saw some of the same conversations that Katie did in terms of the fans kind of really differing on whether this is a good conversation, and even kind of getting annoyed at Gabrielle for ragging on Xena for something that I think fandom certainly perceives as being one of the show's assets. But I thought it was a really necessary point to make. I mean, especially in this episode, as we're going to see, and I think just really important for Gabrielle, who's dealing with her own capacity for violence, to suddenly look at Xena and the way Xena treats violence and question that.
Absolutely. It's definitely motivated, and sometimes you can even be a little bit forgiving when it's clearly setting up something for the rest of the episode.
So besides the fact that Gabrielle has hands like a sailor,
what?
Yeah.
What do you mean besides?
Why are you just rolling on by that one?
Yeah, Xena grabs away the sewing and does it herself on her own leg.
Number one, can we just be a moment to appreciate this little? I mean, it's not really her comforty, but it's a nice.
It is a bit.
It's a little bit.
I thought it was
nice
flirty
little,
too.
It's pretty flirty.
It was talk dirty to me,
Yeah, absolutely. I liked it because later in this episode, there's gonna be the bleeding on Gabrielle, don't let her see that you're wounded kind of a vibe. So here, the fact that Gabrielle's trying to help her sew up the wound, that seemed very appropriate again, and it's nice to see that level of trust between them. This scene is so intimate.
You say that, and then she turns her back to put her.
Yeah, this was also amazing. I mean,
that just
people were
seemed
pissed.
easygoing and comfortable to me. I know that it's network TV and you kind of
you
have
can't
to
show
allow,
the boobies.
But I don't know. It was all sweet to me.
I forget.
Very relaxed.
I find backs really sexy. So
I mean,
totally
cool.
cool.
We'll get to some stuff. But I was just, before we move on from here, that I forget if it's actually in an interview or if I'm literally making this up. Wasn't there a comment that, I don't know if it was from Rob or someone, or Chris or someone, I could totally be making this up, but that they were questioning, that they were kind of making fun of that Gabrielle turned around or whatever. And the fact that in this episode, like in a bathtub together, like literally they could have just shot it so that like you see her from the, you know, shoulders up, like, but like just the like implication that there's not even water there to like, you know, impede the view, I suppose, even though water is clear. It's pretty funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty silly that,
you know, the blocking was that her shirt was thrust on a rock kind of behind them. She had to go get it.
Yeah, that's true.
I really love the little detail that she pulls her hair out of the back of her shirt. I thought that was just like a nice little moment that was, you know, you recognize that when you ladies with long hair, when you're pulling that out. Like, it was sweet.
So Gabrielle, as she's putting on this shirt with her back turned towards Xena, says, I just wonder if maybe your fighting for good has more to do with the fighting part than the good part. And we have this shot of Xena, cue the lightning.
Yeah, of course,
you know.
the ominous lightning underlining this remark.
I do love Xena's reaction, which is basically she's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, she has no answer for that.
Well, she does. She goes, think my fighting is a cover for something darker?
Well, it's not an answer.
But that's like
restating the question.
But that's not trying to, like, push away, like, what are you talking about? What are you, you know, like, defensive. She's like, dang, are you serious? Like, maybe there's a problem? Like, I thought that was really interesting.
And also sad because it's never occurred to her.
Yeah.
Poor Xena. Again, this is such a fundamental thing that at least we've brought up over, you know, from episode 1. But I think it's good. I think it's important that Gabrielle is holding Xena accountable, even here. Even for a little Three Stooges fight. This should be something on Xena's mind. I really liked Xena's line where she's, like, gloating about the fight. I think that is a moment where you see her maybe stepping over a line where she says, like, it was a thing of beauty, how she did that. And that line, thing of beauty, made me think later of Aidan and his sculptures, which, you know, like, what happens when this violent thing becomes, like, a beautiful object to you? And then you're just like, look how nice.
Well,
That's bad, Xena.
But Xena's fighting is her art. That's
what's
really fascinating.
But is it her fighting for good that's her heart, or is it not fighting?
It was this, you know, it's the same style of fighting she used for bad and for good.
Yes,
so
it
that's
is.
Why, So Gabrielle starts wondering that maybe they should start looking into themselves instead of reaching out. And there's another lightning cue at that moment.
Also an important line.
I know. And it triggers Xena's vision.
She looks in, and that's what she sees.
Guys, every single time we've seen the vision since the first time we've seen the vision has been a new and interesting way for them to show us the same footage.
Right.
It is so amazing.
Love it.
I love this.
This might be one of my favorites.
Yeah, this one is so great.
And why is it so great?
Katie, why don't you say?
Well, I mean, like, I like that it's closer in, right? Is it closer
It's
in?
actually further out.
It's further out? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Katie's not going to say
not
Vera.
I will go. This is just, again, we haven't really seen the Xena part of the vision in a really long time.
That's true. She does not tend
because
to
she doesn't focus on
She's
that
not afraid
part.
for herself.
Yes, she only tends to focus on Gabrielle. So this was just straight up the Gabrielle part with the camera kind of going over as she's laid down on the cross, and she turns, and this is, again, the wider shot.
Okay.
And she just mouths, I love you.
I know.
Like, we don't hear
silence.
that. Yeah, but we know exactly what she's saying because we've seen it a bajillion times already. It is so powerful.
What do you think it means that Xena can't hear it this time?
Oh,
right.
Oh, gosh.
Seems important in this episode, which is about trust and miscommunication.
Ooh, okay. All right. Gabrielle, of course, is, as always, annoyed whenever Xena brings up the vision. She's like, would you forget about it?
She's not annoyed here.
She is. She's like, would you forget about it? And with a tone. I felt a tone. And I do love that she says that thing about how, like, Xena, you always say that we control our own destiny, which is so crazy because that's exactly what Caesar says.
Yes.
But she's got those comforting hands on knees.
Yeah, she is. She's holding the knees.
The sailor hands?
She has a tone, but she's touching. So it counteracts. I do think it's just a really funny contradiction in this episode that, you know, so much of it is Gabrielle, like, being like, I believe in this higher power. I believe in Aidan. Mm-hmm. And Xena being like, I'm the skeptic. I never believe. This and, like...
Wait. Yes, continue.
But, like, in the vision, they reverse. Xena believes in that vision 100%. And Gabs is like, I believe in a higher power governing our lives, but not that one. Not that one.
Maybe they started with that X-Files footage on purpose, because there's, like, another thing that I feel like is a kind of through line with these plots that keep happening to Gabrielle on people's posts that have been kind of annoyed with her in these situations, is that, like, I think she has a little bit of a Scully effect in these now, where this happened to her a bunch of times, that, like, she's in this sad position of being the character who you know is wrong.
Aww.
You know what I mean? She trusts these people who are proven to be baddies and whatnot. And, like, you know that, like, Xena's instincts are correct. So Gabrielle is always kind of the one who's, like, gullible. Yeah. Even though, like, you know, Scully's so smart and all this stuff, but you know she's always fucking wrong and, like, like, all the time. And you're like, nope, it's a monster.
It's frustrating, but it's also satisfying because it's consistent.
Yeah.
And I saw this great quote from Chris defending Gabrielle and saying that her ability to be open, even after being burned by these mentor figures who turn out to be untrustworthy, she's still willing to trust again. Yeah. And that, you know, some people might roll their eyes and be like, what a dum-dum.
Right.
But I think
it's
really laudable that she is still open, she's still searching, and she wants to believe.
It's one of my favorite things about this character. So wait, is she Mulder or is she
Scully? She wants to believe.
Yeah, it's absolutely one of my favorite things about this character. And, like, even the stuff, like, in this episode that, like, the guy turns out to be a baddie, but a lot of the stuff, like, for her is actually, you know, correct. Like, anyway, continue.
So there's a weird noise at the back of the cave. And Gabrielle's like, I'll check it out so you don't break your stitches. And Xena's like, fine, do it.
Giant, long hand on stomach. Like, don't move. Anyway, carry on.
So she goes, and she's gone, like, way too long.
There's, like, a little noise,
it's not that long.
Isn't there sort of, like, a little delicate whoosh as she, like,
oh my God,
falls
is there?
down?
Oh, goodness. Xena is forced to hobble along and investigate. And she finds that there is a ginormous hole in the back of this cave.
So
and
deep.
Guess what? Gabrielle totally fell down it.
I mean, she doesn't really know that.
But she just
before
assumes
it's
fucking jumps.
Good guess. It's just that, like, she just throws herself down, like, whee!
Yeah, and she's like, Scully! All the way to the bottom.
Oh, my God.
The hole reminded me, you guys, of the hole at the bottom of Octo in The Last Jedi. This was definitely the dark side hole you throw yourself down in order to have a sex dream about Kylo Ren.
Whoa.
Okay. And he did yoga.
So, yeah.
Okay. So there's a white flash. It's like a 10-frame dissolve to white kind of situation. And we are now...
Tweet.
In this, like, little...
I'm tweeting.
You're tweeting. Not yet. Soon. We're in this kind of, like, Garden of Eden type of place. It's all just so tranquil and idyllic.
Garden of Eden, do you say?
Yes.
Wait, should we mention the episode title?
Oh, I didn't say in a paradise.
Oh.
But yeah, it is. It is
based
a paradise.
On Paradise Lost, I would assume.
Well, this is Paradise Found.
The
so
title.
Yes.
This is the sequel to Paradise Lost, except there is a sequel to Paradise Lost, and it isn't Paradise Found, but that's fine.
What? What a
Paradise
missed opportunity.
Lost again.
I think it's regained.
What?
Which is it's not as good.
Yeah, clearly they should have...
But it can't be found because, it's been... well, I guess it works. Found makes it sound like it's the first time you've ever found
Maybe
it.
we should be Paradise Lost and Found.
Whoa! Like the Lost and Found
Yeah.
at a train station.
Exactly. All right, so in this Garden of Eden paradise, we have some birdies tweeting on their phones. We have a turtle crawling around.
It's a tortoise.
Tortoise, excuse me.
Okay.
And a big fluffy bunny.
It's weird for Xena to do a bunny again, because I feel like In Sickness and in Hell ruined bunnies. Like, I was waiting for this bunny to attack.
This was so fluffy.
It was as fluffy as Gabrielle's hair. Like, this bunny literally has the same, like, dye job as Gabrielle.
You could name this bunny Gabrielle.
Little Gab's bun.
Yeah. And Xena and Gabrielle are alive, so they wake up.
They wake up and their hair is dry.
Yes.
And kind of fluffy. It definitely looks like it's just been blow-dried. I feel like that was Aidan's first move, was blow-dry the hair with my mind.
So Gabrielle's like, I fell down a hole.
You guys, the sunlight, the golden light, no,
I know,
the tableau.
It makes the bunny look really good.
Yeah.
Of them collapsed is one of my top 5 screen caps in all of Xena Warrior Princess. But my note here is birds, sunlight, boobs, thighs. It's just a lot of good stuff happening.
The colors here, I mean, like, in this place in general are really great. Like, it makes everybody look really good until
they don't.
This is peak Gabrielle.
Yeah,
it is.
She looks so beautiful in this episode.
Peak. I'm like having a panic attack about it, to be perfectly honest.
So close to the end.
So yeah, what is the answer? What was the answer to the I fell down a hole?
Xena goes, yeah, what is it with you and holes?
Just that tone of voice. Good job, Vera.
And then Xena notices the weirdest thing, which is that her big old leg wound
is gone. It's gone. What is this? What is this place?
Credits.
Dun-dun-dun.
Oh my god, we're only on the credits?
Yep.
So the innuendo line about holes, I was like, LOL, innuendo. But then I can't remember exactly where I saw this, but I saw a commentator saying, like, no, it's a reference to the sacrifice part too.
You literally needed a commentator.
I needed someone to point that out.
Get out of this podcast.
Go away.
I was like, oh yeah, Gabrielle has fallen down holes.
I thought you were going to be like, oh yeah, Gabrielle has some holes.
Wow. That's pretty bad and really wonderful at the same time.
I was really distracted by the innuendo.
It's the whole episode. It's really, like, got a vibe.
Okay, we fell down a hole. There's a bunny. Do you guys think this is supposed to be influenced by Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say that before, but instead we talked about
how the bunny looks like Gabrielle.
Yeah, no, before that, right when she first discovered the hole. You talked about Jedi. That's why
Jedi, Alice in Wonderland. It's all sourcing from the same stuff.
I mean, honestly.
I think that's interesting because that was Rob's original idea for the musical, even before it was a musical. He wanted to do Xena in Wonderland. So I feel like since that idea transformed almost to the point of being unrecognizable for Bittersweet, it's cool that he went back to that. And I think you see it a little more prominently here.
I guess so. In a very weird way.
In a very weird way.
So Gabrielle's like smelling the flowers.
Of course she stops and smells the flowers.
Yeah, well that's what Najara taught
her to do. Yeah.
She already did that on her own. She liked that Najara also did it.
And Xena's like, what does this place remind you of?
Oh, yeah. I really like that they both were like, oh, my God, yeah, Luja, oh, my God.
It's good because that was totally... It's so funny. In my notes, I was like, this reminds me of Bittersweet. And then they said that, and I was like, oh, good.
But she's like, no one's singing, so it's not.
Except the birds.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, and like Gabrielle's first thought is like, are we dead?
I like that.
Like, yeah.
Which is the same as Bittersweet, right?
Yeah, because the Elysian Fields look like this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like paradise. What is your first thought as a young Greek woman in paradise? You're like, oh, shit, I died.
Then suddenly Xena draws her sword, and there's a weird guy in the bushes that they find.
Because they still have peeping toms, even in paradise. Sorry, ladies.
And this dude, he's small and weird. He kind of reminds me of, like, a Disney-like character. But I guess he kind of, in terms of, like, Alice in Wonderland, he's like, what, Mad Hatter?
Yeah, one of them. One of the weird ones. But yeah, you're right. He does kind of feel like that sort of helper character.
Yeah, but like super manic and like very like caricature face.
Yeah, like you can't depend on him, but you're sort of aware that he means well.
Right. He says that this estate and everything in it belongs to Aidan.
Now
everything
this
except for himself, by the way.
Yeah, he makes this joke about not being Aidan's slave, and I was like, great, Aidan sounds like a wonderful person we all want to meet. He owns an estate, which he owns everything. Like, yeah, that was my first red flag for Aidan.
So they go to the big house to find Aidan and talk to him.
There's a music cue here, which is right out of Bittersweet, which was a nice little salute to that conversation they have.
And when they're, like, walking up to the estate, you kind of see a whole...
It's actually really, it's beautiful
situation.
With the mountains behind.
It looked like Naboo.
Oh, boy. Well, is that what the paintings of the guy that Rob liked?
Yeah, Maxfield Parrish just paints Naboo. Little known fact, he's like the official Nabooian artist.
I thought it was really beautiful because you do see the mountains, the Himalayas.
Yeah, I especially like the little picture windows inside Aidan's estate where you see the mountains peeking through.
I do like that, and everything is very, like, bright, and it feels
it's definitely like
nice.
If we're thinking that we're in a real place, it's definitely not anything that we've ever seen before in Greece or like in China or anything like that.
To me, it felt very Italian. It actually, I was like, this is Lake Como up in here.
Yeah.
So I guess neoclassical instead of classical.
Okay. Gabrielle's like, it's beautiful, don't you think? And Xena goes, yeah, in that yucky I'm in paradise kind of way.
I mean, that's so them.
I did think Xena was right. I thought it was a little bit tacky.
A little too much.
Yeah, a little too much.
Well, especially when
too much ivy, too many columns.
What about all those blue statues that they come upon?
No to the blue statues. But I think even Gabrielle with her, he's got talent. They're the trees are pretty. I feel like she's trying to say some nice things about these sculptures. So unusual. That's what she says. Whenever anyone looks at your art and says so unusual, do not take that as a compliment.
So what do you think of these statues? There's a lot of them. They are in a lot of different yoga poses.
Right.
Kind of like frozen.
And blue.
They don't have faces.
Which
Xena points out.
One thing that I thought was really interesting is that they're blue, as you mentioned, and Maxfield Parrish, he was famous for using blue, and Parrish blue was actually...
on Naboo, the color blue
yes.
is the official color. I'm making shit up about Naboo.
So I thought that was really cool that they're all blue, because this guy was so famous for using blue that they named a color of it after him.
Rob Tapert is on record as saying that Maxfield Parrish is one of his favorite artists, so I assume that, all these references are quite deliberate on his part. I like the detail in the set design that you have the tiles. They're blue and white here. I immediately connected them to Bittersweet, where you had a lot of black and white tiles.
They're blue and white?
I think so, yeah. I think they're sort of meant to,
Are you serious?
offset the
You're
statues.
You're sure it's not black and white?
I think they're blue.
I have a slight blue-black color blindness.
I mean, most people do. But, I think it's still supposed to get that idea across, though, of the black and white tiles, where you have that sense of the duality, the binary between light and dark, which was a big deal for Bittersweet. And also,
maybe they are black and white.
Maybe.
Maybe you have the color blindness.
Maybe.
The floors and stuff, that's totally the Alice in Wonderland again.
Yeah, because
Yes. Good call. The chess thing.
Yes, checkerboard chess thing.
Yep.
Game
Good.
stuff.
So it's either black and white or it's a special blue and white chess set.
Anyway.
So here we have Aidan, and he goes, these figures represent the ultimate inner peace, something anyone can achieve.
So are we going to talk about Aidan?
Yes.
What does it mean that they don't have faces? It's like the loss of their selves.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not people.
And we're not supposed to know what's going on there yet. Yeah, but absolutely.
But it's great that even here, Xena looks at them and says, they don't have faces. And is like upset by it. Like,
I mean,
I guess
it's being
she's
called
a
attention
Greek woman,
to.
and in Greece, they always have faces.
Yeah.
That's true. So, you don't do faceless
She doesn't
sculptures
understand,
in
like,
Greece.
modern art.
I guess so. And then in the context of the episode, because it's being remarked upon, it seems like it clearly must have a meaning.
Yeah. But it's nice that I really like, that Aidan is able to spin this, being like, it's just because it applies to everyone. That's why it has no face. And you're like, no, you've taken these people's identities away.
So let's talk about Aidan.
Yep.
Let's discuss his look.
This is that actor.
That actor.
Jeremy Roberts.
who we previously saw in the Dirty Six.
Dirty Six, and then he was also that guy with the thief in like some other terrible episode from season 1.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, he's been. Yeah.
This guy doesn't have a great track record for episodes up until now.
No. Yeah, he's like a character actor. I think we mentioned before. Like I mainly remember him from Buffy. So.
Oh right, what was
he
on Buffy?
He was like the big vampire that Faith was afraid of, had a vendetta against. They had to like stake him with a gigantic stake.
I remember the episode, but not really
he had, like,
that
hoof
character.
Hands. Yeah, whatever. You know,
he's good.
He's great.
Really good. This is a tricky part, and I think he does very well with it.
So he has like a
His
gem
Luke.
on his forehead, and he's bald, and a lot of bronzer.
Quite a bit of bronzer. Well, it's not so bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't say quite a bit.
Yeah, quite
I
a
would
bit's
say,
a stretch.
Yeah.
Definitely
Like,
bronzer
he definitely
happening.
went in, like, the tanning booth.
Right. Tan booths were pretty popular in the 90s.
But is it bad?
I couldn't tell what was happening.
The character's name is Aidan, which is as white a name as it's possible to have.
Right.
But he obviously is meant to look like he might be from India.
So he's...
Yeah.
But I don't think that is what is actually true of his character.
That's true.
At all.
We don't know
We don't know the
anything.
origins of this guy at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have, like, due to his yoganess, like, that is the look that came out. Like, he could have been a completely different looking, like, normal guy, and he's been doing this for who knows how long, and this is, like, his transformation. You know?
He's crafted
like Gollum.
a neoclassical paradise for himself, which looks very Western. Don't know.
Okay.
There's a lot of kind of mixed messages here in Aidan's presentation. Like, to me, I didn't immediately reach for a coin because I do feel like he owns an estate. He's named Aidan. He's trying to exploit people using things he's picked up from other places.
Yeah, I think
he's the ultimate like white imperialist capitalist.
I think that's important in the context of the episode because like we can just kind of like talk about the whole thing. Guess what? Spoilers. He's a baddie. That, you know, he has all these like accoutrements and he is using these techniques, but he's using them in a bad way. Like, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of complicates whatever is going on with his look and situation.
I do wonder if also, like, the mountains have some kind of... I don't know. That's a silly thought, I guess.
What?
But because the mountains, like, are from a specific region, and he's, like, stuck in the mountains.
But they're not in the mountains. They're in, like, a nothing. I don't know.
No, they're in the mountains.
Well, they are in the mountains. You're right.
He's his estate is in the mountains.
In the mountains.
But also down a hole.
But also
I
his estate doesn't exist, guys. It's not a real thing. He lives in a hole in the mountains.
No.
That's where he lives. So I don't know if, like, the mountains, like, also affect kind of his look, you know? Just
one cool Aidan look detail that I liked was the eyebrow scar. I don't know if that's Jeremy Roberts' real scar, but he has a very prominent scar over his eyebrow.
That vampire had a scar from Buffy.
Oh, well, there you go. But yeah, I mean, even if it's just an accident that's there, I thought that said a lot about the character. He's someone with a history, and, you know, he could heal that with the powers of his mind
But he
in
chooses
Bubble
not to.
Universe, and he chooses not to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he explains that to Xena by saying that it's just mind over matter, breathing, meditation techniques. That's how he's able to heal her wound.
Sounds so simple.
Yeah.
He also explains that it took him 10 years to achieve inner
Uh-oh,
peace.
10 years ago!
10 years ago.
Oh.
So much happened then. He explains that his demons, like Xena's, ran deep, but eventually he released them. I love that he keeps saying that he released the demons, which totally sounds like he went to the mall, he let him off the leash, and was like, yay!
So, hearing that, Xena's like, we gotta leave now. But Aidan offers them, like, that maybe they should stay the night because of the hospitality.
Good food, fine wine.
A bath.
I love that finally it's Gabs. Like, it used to be Xena who was always obsessed with the hot tubs, and she's passed it on to Gabs.
She wants that warm bath. And then she slaps Xena's butt.
Yeah.
To convince her.
Just wax. Right in the butt. Why not? Like, wouldn't you?
So they decide to stay.
I love that Xena, like, growls in response, just being like, Gabrielle.
Oh, man. Well, anyway, this guy and his intro is definitely worrisome.
You always know a guy is probably not to be trusted when he shakes Xena's hand and just, like, stares at her, like, without blinking for, like, 10 minutes.
So we have the sexy bath. It's pretty great.
Slow-mo.
Yeah, it's actually a single shot, this whole scene. I thought that was so cool of Rob. The actors must have been very game, because, you know, I can't imagine, like, being Renee and, like, starting the scene underwater, coming up, and then just delivering all my lines without first being like, where's a towel? I kind of, like, rub my eyes.
Oh, there's so much, like, steam everywhere. It's just very sexy.
I love how black the water is. It's like a black marble tub, I guess. Like, it just has this... It looks like they're bathing in night.
Lest we see in the water.
That's true. And also there's a white lotus there, I think,
Yeah, there's
right?
a lot of, like, floating, like, pretty things.
Lotuses are big in Hinduism and Buddhism, and it makes sense that you would have them there here, as well as the yin-yang, which we're going to get to a little bit later.
So Gabrielle is, like, in total bliss. I mean, she's, like, so into this right now. And Xena is already, you can see she's, like, very anxious already. And Gabrielle says, you know, I'm surprised at you, Xena. For someone who's seen what Lao Ma and Alti can do, it's strange you're not curious about Aidan. Xena responds with, I've seen enough to know that most people can't handle spiritual powers, and Aidan is no Lao Ma. I loved that
She's
line.
so right. See, this to me felt like a little bit of a kind of wink towards the fact that Aidan's a white guy practicing this stuff.
I thought she meant, like, he's not as hot as Lao Ma.
I mean, he obviously isn't as hot as Lao Ma, but I feel like she was saying that Lao Ma kind of had a right to this. Like, this was Lao Ma's, whereas this guy, there's something untrustworthy about it. He's coming in and doing this. And, well, like, what's his agenda? What's his deal?
I mean, she's very kind of defensive of Lao Ma because, like, she's seen that. She herself felt the power, so she believes in Lao Ma. The difference is that, like, Gabrielle's not questioning that Lao Ma isn't real because she didn't see it. That's true. That Xena is because she doesn't see Aidan do the stuff that Gabrielle
is already believing it, even though she hasn't seen him do the stuff either. I do like that Gabrielle's response is just, well, he's a bit odd. Yeah, you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong, Xena.
All right, Katie, you're up.
Oh, well, earlier, before all that happened, you missed the part where Gabrielle, like, pulls Xena across the tub, like, so that they're, like, sitting basically on top of each other, and she starts giving her a shoulder massage.
Yeah. That's
like happening simultaneously.
There are a lot of cute details in there too. Like Xena, like, is, like, flicking the candles as they float by, which is a really cute detail. And I also loved the little miming they do when Gabrielle finally, like, finds the right spot on Xena's shoulder, and you know it's the right spot because Xena makes some faces.
So blissed out.
And then, like, when Gabrielle moves off to, like, get some other spot, Xena's like, no, go back to that one. It's so cute. It's really cute. The actors are just bringing a lot to the scene.
There's a good Xena snark in here, like, where Gabrielle just kind of talks about how she wants to learn the breathing techniques, and Xena's like, I've been breathing just fine on my own for years.
It also just occurred to me, Aidan, via his mind powers, fixed Xena's leg.
Right.
Lao Ma also fixed Xena's leg.
Huh.
Whoa. But he's no Lao Ma.
No. He's no Lao Ma because he didn't
really fix it. Yeah.
Someone's at the door, guys.
Oh, yeah, this happens.
And it is the little weird dude from the garden.
He's reporting as ordered with clothes, sir.
That was so weird.
Yeah, it was just weird. I mean, I get how for plot reasons you need him to, like, reveal that he's a soldier.
Yeah.
But I didn't get this joke. I don't know. It was it just somehow landed a little oddly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As did he on the floor.
Right. And, I mean, Xena does her thing that we love, the empowering, I'm naked but I don't care, like, here's my sword kind of thing. And yeah, he reacts. I mean, she thinks that it's like, what? I look like a man? I'm fully naked here. Like, that was like the joke here, and it was a little weird.
Not working.
Yeah.
And then it's made even weirder by Xena and Gabrielle kind of sharing a look about it. Like, wasn't that funny? And you're like, was it, guys? I'm still confused.
All right, let's go to the next scene where...
So we begin our yoga sesh here with Aidan and Gabrielle.
And I love this just opening shot, which is Gabrielle's torso. Like, the breath going in and out.
Yes.
She just looks amazing.
She looks so good.
She's in a new outfit.
I mean, are there, like... wait,
the
what?
Hot little number, as Rob said.
Yeah.
Robert!
Robert!
Listen... I've given him, like, a minor pass before. But, like, this is a different person. And, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where the camera does spend a lot of time kind of lingering and panning around her. But this is also, at the same time, kind of, like, about...
Her body.
It's about the body. Yeah,
So,
body,
and, you know, and then there's also
her
the
body
fact
is
that,
telling the story.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
my eyeballs, like, looking... at it as well. I don't know. Is that a coin? I don't care.
No, that's not a coin.
Oh.
You can put it in if you'd like. Yeah, it's good stuff. And she's got her new outfit.
Let's describe the outfit.
Well, this is her
Small
yoga
top.
outfit. The colors of it have reversed.
Right.
Yeah.
Brown top, green pants.
So she went to the Lululemon.
Yeah, she definitely went to the
And got
Lululemon.
Some new pants.
Some yoga pants.
It's all really good, I think, in this episode, the stuff that she's learning from him. Obviously, I think like yoga got really popular in like the 80s and 90s specifically. I mean, it started in the United States like earlier than that, but like I think in the 90s is like...
I think that's when it became mainstream. It was
Mainstream,
popular sort of with
like
the esoteric.
The
and
90s
countercultural.
were like,
But, like-
strife with like crystal stuff, yoga stuff.
Yeah, but like this is like I feel like the episode is doing a good job of actually like talking very vaguely and it being more about spirituality than like
doing yoga.
bendy yoga stuff, which
Yeah.
is like not even what I think ancient yoga would have been. Like they wouldn't be doing like super bendy
Downward
backward
facing dog
stuff.
yeah.
I mean, I could be totally wrong about that.
No, that's my sense
But
too.
yeah.
It's much more about the mindset
not-
and
yeah.
the meditation, and the physical stuff is just about bringing that mindset
Exactly.
about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm making Lululemon jokes, but I don't really mean it.
What about her French braid?
I love her French braid. I absolutely
The
think
yoga
it is
French braid
like
of
we've
necessity.
been like building up to this moment of just beautiful, like the wisps of hair in the front of her face, and then this beautiful
Who
French
wore it
braid.
better, Gabrielle or Tanya Harding?
Oh, I mean, I think Gabrielle.
She doesn't have the
it's not
scrunchie.
permed,
She doesn't have the scrunchie.
Like just everything about her in this episode is amazing.
So Aidan warns that all these like new breathing techniques that he's teaching her could stir up some deep fields.
Right.
She's game.
She's game.
Yeah.
She's okay with that. But this, I like that at first, and kind of almost to the very end, I think everything that Aidan says, while sometimes he chooses words that maybe are not the right words and sound a little ominous, like it's good advice. You know?
Yeah.
He's teaching her yoga.
I actually think he's giving her good advice while at the same time literally telling the audience what he's doing.
That's true.
Yeah. He's like, this place will do exactly this thing to you.
And stirring, these are feelings that, I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but
Sorry.
I think these are things that Gabrielle hasn't confronted
Yeah.
in a while,
In a while.
certainly. And maybe
Yeah.
some of it at all. So
It's
I
like
think,
repressed stuff.
yeah, I think Aidan's actually doing some necessary work for the character. You know, even a bad guy can actually teach you something important.
So back in the garden, Xena is amidst the birdies, the bunny, the turtle, doing her own breathing techniques. But it's not yoga. It is what Lao Ma taught her.
It's Tai
Tai
Chi.
Chi. This is great because I feel, like Tai Chi is perfect for Xena because it is coming from this place of war, like where martial arts moves. And we are in a place, like, geographically, too, where I feel like everything is kind of in the middle, so you have all these influences, so it all kind of works, and it's very Xena-esque to have everything going on all at once. But when you have Gabrielle over there doing these breathing techniques, and then you have Xena over here, like, when you're talking about, like, breathing in yoga and, like, Qi and Tai Chi, there's similar but not the same concepts, but we're all kind of talking about the same thing approached in different ways.
Yeah. Kind of like the yin-yang, where you have, like, two different sides, but they're actually the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah. If we could just talk about the Force, that would be a lot more. I could totally nail that.
We are experts in the Force. We cannot claim to be experts in Qi, but we're doing our best here.
So
the music is really cool in this sequence. I think this was our first little glimpse of what Jolo has in store for us with the India arc. So you're getting some new instruments, a little bit of Indian classical music coming into the soundtrack.
But I thought since this was intercut between Xena and Gabrielle, I thought it was a really great mix of kind of the China-inspired themes that we've heard in the Dead with this new stuff.
Yeah,
which was really clever. Yeah, it was really clever. Yeah, I loved
really
it.
good.
So Xena's doing this amidst all these blue statues, and I thought that sort of like every time we come back to them, it was like a little bit like Doctor Who with the Weeping Angels. Like,
oh no, you thought they moved?
I was worried that they are moving.
No.
Well, I love the whole feel of this with the dissolves, and it's all just feels it feels meditative, like it's supposed to be. It feels relaxed,
sort of
you
lyrical.
kind of feel
yeah, like I like the pace of this episode in general. I really like that it takes its time. I feel like, you know, even in this sequence, which gives you a sense of peace and serenity, like you're aware that there's something. Just the very fact that it allows itself to go on so long kind of does make you tense, the way that, you know, Xena is slowly getting tense.
Yeah.
I think it's very well put together on an editing level.
Yeah, and what they do with making these common scene techniques new and fresh, like for instance, we saw Xena's vision, and instead of hearing the dialogue, we only see the visual. And like here with Gabrielle, when she starts flashing back to something, you don't see the visual, you only hear the dialogue.
I was so grateful for that because I really didn't want to see it. I felt like it would have taken me out of the episode.
But the instinct is, oh, we have to see that scene because we have that footage, so like let's just flash that in there, and this was so much more powerful.
Also because when I first heard, I forget exactly what her first line is.
So the first
new life poured into me. I thought that was almost like a voiceover of her talking about Aidan.
Yes.
It sounds like that.
Yes. So this was really great because she goes, she's doing the yoga, and then you just hear her voice. So you're thinking this is like a scene from the future, right? Where she's telling Xena, let's say, how great her yoga sesh was. And she goes, I feel like some power just poured new life into me. It's what I'm going to call her, Hope. And you're like, oh shit, this is not that. These are the bad thoughts.
And her eyes fly open, and it's a very like hoary. It's a very horror movie shot. Where you're just like, oh no.
Right. So this episode had a lot of like extreme close-ups on people's faces.
And they look so good in them, except when they don't.
Yes. Yep. We don't talk about that yet.
Oh man. But yeah, oh no, you guys are like so right on the audio flashbacks. But you feel like it's kind of like just being pulled up from out of her, and like you don't need.
And it's great to just
like,
see her
hearing
face
what she's
100% reacting to this. Like it's really great. So
great performance by Renee.
Oh my god!
Here.
Just like the next one is like my favorite thing ever. So Aidan suggests that maybe they should stop because in order for her to find the perfect inner peace, she's gonna have to confront like what's inside and like release it.
He tells us his backstory, which is that he too lost somebody. He lost his wife and child, just like Gabs, and he faced that pain and he came to terms with it, and now he's this guy.
But I love her response was like, you don't know what I carry.
Yeah.
Which was so moving.
It's true. And I mean, she's got a lot more than just hope. Like, the episode didn't get into it, but you know, all of the people she's killed at this point, there's also that.
Yep.
I really like this dialogue about Aidan kind of explaining to Gabrielle that she can create a perfect world just by thinking about it. I think this is a really important exchange. This is a new idea for the show. I don't know, one I don't necessarily agree with. So it was again, like a lot of things Aidan says, it sounds wise and maybe helpful, even if you as an audience member go, oh, I don't know about that. Don't release the demons in the mall.
Oh, no.
Don't just sit back and think about a perfect world.
He's thinking about, like, just like what he's doing, which is like literally creating a physical thing, not like the act of being innerly peaceful.
Right.
Is different than like literally creating a place with your brain.
You feel like you could take his advice as spiritual advice, as how to achieve an inner peace, and that is a perfect world inside yourself, and that sounds like nice advice, but it can also seem like he's actually telling someone, be passive, like don't actually affect change in an active way, just do it inside, which I feel like Chris Mannheim is not a fan of.
No, she is not a fan of, but like at the same time, I totally get what she's saying. They get to it later in the episode where you're like, a world without good,
quote.
Like we'll
get to it later.
You need good to fight evil, like la la la, all that stuff. I was just speaking very vaguely, but like if everyone was more peaceful in that way and you achieve some sort of enlightened state, then it would affect the world. And then actually there are, I can't cite the studies and I don't know of their accuracy, but like there have been like these big, you guys, I've been listening to like way too much Oprah Super Soul Sunday podcast and like you know, her
Oprah
talking
could
to
definitely create a perfect world just by thinking
absolutely. You know, like her talking to like Deepak Chopra and stuff, like where people doing these like massive group meditations, they have actually studied that within that time frame or around the time frame, like crime was lower.
Whoa!
And I can't cite the actual accuracy of the study or like what it is.
Science right like, there to put my Scully hat on.
This is wait,
was
David
the crime
Lynch,
lower in the room where everybody was meditating?
No.
Okay.
Like in the
I would say so like
you can kind of look some of this stuff up. But you know, I was just reading the David Lynch book about transcendental meditation and stuff, and like he's a big proponent of that. Yeah, so that's interesting. It's interesting to think that, like, because Chris Mannheim is absolutely coming from this place where, like, I'm writing an episode about how they need to be proactive in the world.
In part because
like,
that's good drama.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting to think about,
no,
like, if everybody...
is. And it's true that I think in order to create change in around you, you need to be good inside yourself. Like, I think there's a balance here.
Yes, which is absolutely a good thing.
That's what Aidan says to Gabrielle. He goes, before you can heal the world,
shit, I'm quoting it.
You've got to heal yourself.
Which he's right.
He creates a little flower.
Fuck you, Aidan, and your wisdom.
And his little flower.
Oh yeah, so he conjures into being a lotus again with the lotus. A lotus, it's a big deal image in Hinduism, also in Buddhism,
and also in that Radiohead song.
Also in that Radiohead song, yes. I have a fun quote about the lotus. Well, for one thing, in my studying of the lotus, I found out that since it's a water plant, we can connect it to Xena. Because water is her element, as you may remember. And also, the lotus is like floating on top of the water. So I wonder if we could say that the lotus is Gabs.
It's interesting.
We found an image for Gabs.
You actually really just reminded me of a Rob Tapert interview that I read where he talked about how, and I guess it's like for definitely in this episode, but maybe like in further episodes where she just wears the sandals and that's what he's talking about. But like how she's barefoot and it's because he wanted her to connect to the earth.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I have a quote about a lotus that kind of echoes that.
Cool.
Here's my quote. It's actually a quote from the guy who is the first major writer to talk about the yin-yang symbol. His name is, pardon my pronunciation, Zhu Dunyi, and his quote is, "I love the lotus because while growing from mud, it is unstained." I like that for Gabs.
Yeah.
She's growing. She has difficult things, and you know, she comes from a little town, mud.
I'm sure that the use of the word unstained in there is important for perhaps the best sequence in this episode.
Yes!
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Gabs as Lotus. So here we have Aidan manipulating one with his hands. Hey.
So Gabrielle is just so excited about this, and she's so eager to teach others, and by others, she specifically means Xena.
That's the only person she knows.
Well, no, I believe that she would want to start like a school of this and like teach others for real.
And it's great because she barely even knows it yet. She
yes,
said one
but
day,
she's like so there.
But that's so great of her that like she immediately
her.
Just wants to share it.
Yeah, unlike Aidan, who you understand has like, you know, he wants to have power over people. That's his reason for studying this stuff. Whereas Gab, she wants to pass it on. She has the true soul of a teacher.
Aidan tells her that here you can become what you really are deep down inside. All the layers stripped, and what's left is your core self, the real you.
And then you see Gabrielle with the lotus, like holding the outermost petal, the outermost layer to pull away. So I thought that was a nice use of visual storytelling, especially if you accept that Gabs is the lotus.
Back in the garden, we got all the birdies, all the tortoise, excuse me.
Oh my
the
God.
Bunny. Everyone's
Tortoise
still
is
there.
big. Turtle you keep in like a tiny, like a tank. It's like as big
What
as
about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? They're huge.
Only if a turtle makes contact with ooze can it get big.
All right.
What is the tortoise and hare usage in this episode all about anyway? I know it's like
fans
slow and steady
reference
wins
that.
the race. That's the
Yeah.
The turtle is the only one
lesson.
who doesn't get
It's
killed.
a fucking tortoise.
The tortoise is the only one who doesn't get killed.
That's true.
So he's alive at the end of this
I
thing.
saw some people saying that the tortoise was Gabs because she's somehow slow and steady, which is weird. I don't really associate those words with
In this
Gabs.
episode, I
but she's
suppose.
true. You know, she's true and loyal, and
Yeah.
you know, doesn't get tired.
Just like a turtle.
Seen as this psychotic bunny that gets murdered.
She does have the bunny teeth at the end.
She fucking does. Oh.
I saw people trying to make sense of the imagery with the animals, but I think my issue with connecting it to the Aesop fable is just, what about the birds? You know? Like,
they're just tweeting the whole story.
Like
That's why.
there was just a casting call in New Zealand for animals, and those were the 3 that responded.
So Xena's doing her Tai Chi in this garden. She's got a handle on it. She's doing it. She's peaceful. And then suddenly whooshes.
The whooshes!
The whooshes come, and she loses it and starts doing her martial arts here and there.
I love this version of the warrior princess theme that plays. A little bit different, but recognizable as such. And this sequence also includes my other favorite thing, which is a reaction shot by a bird.
So she does all these, like, kicks and stuff. She just punches towards the statues.
She kicks one in the face.
She doesn't connect.
No, it does.
She does?
I literally paused this thing and looked, and there's like a puff of smoke when she kicks it in the face. And thinking about what that statue actually is, I was like, oh my God.
She didn't know. Whatever, she murders all the bunnies and stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Somehow seems worse to kick these poor people in the face.
So she kicks the flowers, too.
It looks really cool.
Yeah, it
you
looks
have the
really
petals
great. Yes,
and-
as soon as she, like...
Were those cherry blossoms? That was my takeaway from it. Because I just wanted more significant
I mean, it's definitely
flowers.
some beautiful type of tree.
So I was like, that's the future of Xena.
Our cherry blossom, way in the future.
Kick it.
I mean, I
kick
can
it.
definitely see that, like, Rob was going for a specific look.
They are definitely
and that's
back.
what you're talking about, for sure.
That look is back in the finale.
In the finale.
Because Rob has very specific things he's obsessed with, and they appear in the episodes that he wants to direct and doesn't.
Yeah.
And then the ones that he does direct. It's very connected for him. I like his visual
style, sense. He does say that he thinks in images. He crafts whole stories around images he wants to include. You can definitely see that in this episode, which in a way is just like a collection of images loosely connected by plot.
Yeah. Well, I love all the petal stuff. And it is definitely, like, you know, reminiscent of the Xena, like, the films that influenced this show, for sure.
I did kind of hate, though, that when they fall around her in that shot, they were clearly CGI.
Oh, the petals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know why that was necessary. They couldn't get the petals to fall.
I guess so.
Maybe,
nicely.
or like they didn't want him to fall on her.
Maybe.
So,
I don't know. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, why?
Well, she's definitely Xena-ing around, and she flies up, and when she lands...
Her hair
Oh gosh,
What
guys.
level are we
Yeah,
at?
what are we at?
So we went from 0, right?
to hero.
No.
Opposite.
To straight 20 of crazy.
I
Straight
don't
20.
think so.
Straight 20.
Wow, we're going real high.
This episode is like, it breaks the scale.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
What's the
Alright.
scale go to?
100.
The scale goes to
Oh,
100,
yeah.
and they're gonna go past that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Usually we don't really reach past like a 30.
Okay, so we're already at 20.
We're already at 20. And
Wow,
it's
damn.
bad. It's bad, guys.
She doesn't land on the tortoise.
No, yeah, that we were really worried about the turtle.
Fuck you!
So what was really, really great about this sequence, besides a lot of the things we already mentioned, is the use of sound effects in this. So besides the whooshes and stuff, we have a lot of really interesting animal noises that appear.
It's very like a cacophony.
Yeah.
It's going nuts. It really is.
It's like the entire zoo is put in a blender, and this is what we hear right now.
The birds are part of that cacophony, and then Xena, like, shout, shut up.
Yeah.
And, like, all the birds stop, except for one asshole bird who still keeps going. And I was like, you go, bird. You don't listen to Xena.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, this is totally me if I ever go on, like, an island vacation. I'm
No.
100% going to be Xena flipping out
On
and
an island.
shouting and everything.
Oh, wow. All right.
Right. I just went on one of those. Why
Because
would you go crazy?
some people are really good at relaxing, and some people are not good
Oh my
at
god,
relaxing.
you just haven't tried it.
I don't know. Audience, you don't know this about Olivia, but she can sit in a park for like the entire day. That's called relaxing.
Yeah.
That's different.
So Xena's like, that was weird. So we had a moment there.
She looks at her hands. Is something wrong with them? I didn't
She was
notice
doing
anything.
punches with them.
Oh, she's just like, stop punching.
yeah.
I thought maybe, considering some of the physical changes that happened later, I was like, is something up with them? But okay, they did punches.
So back in the yoga studio, Aidan's got Gabrielle kind of like in a cobra pose, but he's got her
You actually know the names of the poses. That was not as...
just two poses.
I did not get that far.
Yeah. But so the difference here is like he got her hands over her, so he's like helping her out, kind of like do it. And the difference between a cobra pose and a upward dog is that the hips stay low on the ground.
So Vera, you've taken some yoga classes.
By Googling it.
Oh my God.
I've been to yoga once.
I've been to yoga once, and I'm so mad because my friend told me it was yoga for beginners, but everyone in this class was a ballet dancer. I was so mad. I can't even explain to you how angry I was. So that's my experience with yoga.
Oh man.
So Gabrielle's in this like pose, it kind of feels like she's got all the trust like in him, right? Because he's holding her hands up. And Xena, after her experience in the garden, is kind of pissed, and she walks in and she's like ready to be like, yeah, I've got to get out of here. Like, I'm so mad about all of this. And then she spots this and she kind of like stops and watches what happens.
Then what does happen?
Gabrielle experiences a memory.
This was all from maternal instincts, right? All the audio? Because it was audio, it's actually harder for me to place. But I'm pretty sure it's maternal instincts.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear the line, I never meant to lie. I couldn't kill her. She's my daughter. You're a mother. You know this. Yeah.
I didn't kill her.
Oh, no. What is that? That's not even the That's not even the line. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
So Gabrielle in her cobra pose, which by the way is a chest opening pose, so like the breathing, it's all related.
And we know that when you do the breathing, the bad thoughts come up.
Right. So she just had one. It was once again about hope. And the camera kind of like pushes in, and it's just a wonderful acting moment of Renee just breaking down.
She just breaks. Like, I feel like even though you have the lead up of all the voiceover, the break itself happened so suddenly that when I saw it, I gasped.
Yeah, and it was just so like realistic, like it just happened. Like she clearly wasn't planning it. She wasn't focused on it. She wasn't having any kind of, like, she was, like, totally open, doing her breathing, and then this thought came up, she remembered it, and just rush
Crumpled.
of emotion. Yeah, crumpled, like literally crumpled out of the pose and kind of like went on his knee.
She's like, at first she's just lying face down on the floor.
Yeah.
Just like abject sadness.
It's an incredible moment. And this is what Xena is witnessing. She's got this great highlight on her. Mm-hmm. And she stops. Like, to me, it reminded me a little bit of this whole scene, like Xena's reaction reminded me of when she watched Gabrielle and Najara.
Oh, it actually reminded me of when she watched Gabrielle almost commit suicide but decide not to.
Oh,
Whoa.
that too.
But also this moment where, she doesn't intervene. She just stands and watches.
Right.
I mean, obviously, there, her reaction was more mysterious. But here it's clear that she can't bring herself to intervene because she feels like she's not wanted.
Well, that's why I said Najara, because it was the same thing where, it's like Najara and Gabrielle by the lake talking about the swans, where like Xena, her instinct is to get Gabrielle, bring her back to herself, but knows that maybe this is better for her.
Yeah, I love that Xena warring with those kind of emotions of, actual jealousy.
Yeah.
And what, she loves Gabrielle, so what's best for Gabrielle, especially in this episode where it's all about not hurting Gabrielle.
It must be so hard for her to see this evidence that Gabrielle's still in pain over something that I think in Xena's mind, she's like, we're so past that. Why is this coming back?
We sang and all sorts of stuff and good times.
Like, oh no, this again?
I loved a Rob quote. It was the Renee telling the story about Rob directing this part. And how he basically, in the initial scene of Lucy looking at Aidan and Gabrielle, like Rob was like, she's in another man's arms. And Lucy like repeated it and just started like cackling.
It's pretty funny.
Because it's true. That's like what's going on.
It's what's
like,
happening.
Yeah.
You do feel like she's jealous of that emotion. The one
Connection,
to comfort
emotion,
Gabrielle. She's usually that. It's very hard to see that with like her trusting someone else to do that.
I feel more of that, Najara connection where it's like her entire point in this episode, much like Najara episode, is that she sees the vision and doesn't want to hurt Gabrielle.
Yeah. And she understands that her presence is what's putting Gabrielle in pain a lot of the time, and that Gabrielle can't deal with that pain except when Xena isn't there, to Najara, to Aidan here.
Yeah, and that Gabrielle is getting some kind of solace from these spiritual leaders that she's met.
She can't get from Xena.
Right, exactly.
She says she's a monster.
Oh man,
yes.
She does. Which is ironic considering what's gonna happen.
Don't mention it.
Don't.
So Aidan tells her, whatever you saw or felt is just the past. The past has no power if you face it. Facing it gives you the power.
This seems important for a show that starts with an episode called Sins of the Past.
Yes.
Yep.
Very important.
And then he spots Xena, and they make eye contact. Ooh. And she leaves.
Yeah, she runs away. I really love, you've kind of said the eye light. Also the fact that the light on Xena, half of her face is in light and half is in darkness. Yeah. And you compare with Gabrielle, who is just lit in this very attractive, soft light.
Soft light, the episode.
Even though she's crying and upset, she looks just so soft and pretty.
Well, let's get to the scene where she's like the ultimate
soft, pretty.
Ultimate. It's nighttime, and the gals are in their room. They have this great bed.
I'm assuming clear that they're sharing it.
It's circular, and are they going to be 69ing on it?
Oh my god! I never even considered that aspect of the bed's design. Okay, Vera,
because your head has to go in the dot part.
Your head, the dot's the pillow. Yeah,
it's the pillow.
Oh, it didn't look like a pillow to me.
It is a pillow. It's 100% a pillow.
When first it cuts to a close up, you see you don't know that it's the yin yang yet. You just see Gabrielle on this white bed with a black shape behind her head. I thought it was blood.
I understand that. Yeah.
I was like, oh god, because she's staring kind of glassy-eyed.
She does. Rob described it as her being just blissed out, but she looks very like too still, which is great for the episode because we know that that's kind of what's happening. Yeah.
Absolutely. So and then Rob does this amazing crane up from her to reveal the tableau, which is the bed, and then Xena is not on her half. She is like by Gabrielle, but she's doing sit-ups.
I love that. I love that you have this image, and of course, I think any other director would have been tempted to like block this with Xena on the other side of the bed because that's the image. But I love that he muddies the water here with this image. That he makes that point that, you know, Gabrielle's on the white part. Oh, Xena's the black, and they complete each other. But Xena isn't actually there in that tableau. She's kind of chosen not to be in it, and instead is doing angry sit-ups next to it.
But even the fact that she isn't quite on her side of the yin-yang bed, she, as will be revealed shortly, is still in the dark because she got that shadows on her face.
Could you figure out what that shadow is coming from?
So the shadows on her face has no source, but
it's mysterious.
It is
black.
the same.
I thought they were like almost like plants, like blowing in the breeze in front of her.
What it is the same visual homage to the debt when she's going into Ming Tian's palace to assassinate him. Do you remember all those bird cages?
Yes.
So that was like Rob's thing. He really wanted that in there. And to me, this looks like as if there was a bird cage, and that's the source.
So she's enclosed in bars.
She's enclosed in bars, for sure.
The dark... I thought... I saw it two ways. I saw the bars, like she's enclosed, she's trapped. But I also saw the way it was kind of waving back and forth.
Like a rocking bird cage.
I guess so. But like to me, I was like, the dark is sort of passing over her. This is like the internal conflict.
Okay.
Like it's like moving inside her.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
I just couldn't help but like there's so much visual parallel to the debt in this episode, as well as like thematic parallel and literal mention of Lama.
Yeah.
That I just saw
and
it everywhere.
yin-yang, which is an important concept when you're going to Taoism.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Which was Lama's thing, and she
wrote it. So, Gabrielle blissed out on this bed. Xena is just, again, the fact that she's doing these sit-ups, her state of being is just super duper restlessness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's the opposite of still.
Yep. Gabrielle says, I haven't felt this clean since before Hope was born.
Wow.
Which is an interesting thing, clean.
Yeah, clean, and later light and clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But clean really makes me think of that lotus thing that you were talking about.
Yeah, unstained. Yeah. And that feels also a little bit going into Christianity, this idea of, sin versus the opposite of sin. It's washing away the stains, yeah.
Did you want to talk a little bit about the yin-yang and the side that Gabrielle is on?
Yeah, were you guys shocked that Gabrielle was on the yang?
Yeah.
Which is the masculine side.
Right.
I liked that.
It's positive, bright, and masculine, and the yin is negative, dark, and feminine.
Because Gabrielle's the daddy.
She's the top. We already discussed this before.
Yeah.
We decided that Xena's
she's definitely, and the passive force, the female force, the moon. What would be next in that list? Water, I think. So, I definitely like Xena being associated with yin. Obviously, I mean, you pick it for the just visual of light and dark.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think once you actually kind of read about this, it works.
It's fun to go deeper, and like maybe they weren't thinking about that when they were like constructing the mise-en-scène and just being like, we're going to put her on the white side because of the imagery that we're generally familiar with her head in the dark circle, like because of her like mental state. But I like when you go further and you like look up all these symbols and it just adds more to it.
For me, with the yin-yang, I'd always, not knowing very much about it, assumed it was kind of Manichaean, where you have, the opposites, light and dark, and that there's always two sides to anything. And reading about it, it's actually much more complex and fascinating to me, in that it's actually not so much about two sides, it's about a synthesis, a unity, that these two, the two sides contain parts of each other, and that they're not opposites, they're complementary.
Right.
They're part of a balance, which I think is really interesting to have that image in this episode where you have Aidan, who's sort of stated that his life philosophy is that he's going to have you confront and release the evil so that's all that left is good. He's deliberately putting people out of balance. And clearly that's not the way, that's not what actual like inner peace is about. Yeah.
And also not what yoga, and specifically maybe in like Hinduism, is about either. It's much more similar to Olivia what you were saying about the yin-yang symbol and like the balance and like this stuff being complementary in everything and existing together, and like he's like just a bad dude who doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, bad dude doesn't know what he's talking about. But it's also just cool, of course, for Xena and Gabrielle, who so often are wrestling with these ideas. And I think the idea that actually you can just have a balance of Xena and Gabs and their opposing worldviews and having them as complements rather than as opposing forces. I think that's what the end goal for the show as well.
And the end goal to The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Oh, nice one.
Listen, I'm telling you. I mean, that scene from, you can write a whole thing about like Star Wars and Hinduism for sure. Absolutely in the Force. But that, oh my God, that whole scene in The Last Jedi like made me cry. And I feel ridiculous that I am like just talking about it right now, but it is really important.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil The Last Jedi if people haven't seen it.
But I think it is really... I think maybe this is why I kind of misunderstood the yin-yang symbol, because of these sort of westernized ideas that you see in Star Wars, where, you have light and dark, and they seem very mutually exclusive.
But they make
The Last
circle.
Jedi
They literally
is different
into each other. Like it's clearly one whole.
The Last Jedi was not saying that. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No.
Star Wars podcast. Oh, gosh. So Xena now thinks that maybe Gabrielle likes Aidan as, like, a boyfriend of the week.
This felt like Chris.
I love that.
Chris came back and
but
was
you know
like,
what?
hey, no.
To me, this felt like, I mean, this is clearly, Xena is slowly moving into some strange mental state, and this definitely seemed like a symptom of it to me. This was sort of almost just like... you could see that this thought had no bearing in reality, even for her. She was just saying it almost to be crude and mean. Yeah. Just trying to bring Gabrielle down from this place of spiritual high.
But it has, like, no effect. Yeah. Gabrielle is just like, nope.
Another note about Rob's direction here. He told Renee to play the scene without listening to a word that Lucy was saying to her. And she never looks at her either. And I think that's a really cool note, because there is this sense of kind of, not exactly tension, but maybe just like disjunction. Yeah. Like, I mean,
good word.
Like Gabrielle's just in her own world, and like Xena can't kind of penetrate it. Xena's trying to get through to her. And like she just doesn't notice anything that's going on with Xena. Yeah.
Like that line was meant to provoke her.
That's a really good word for it.
She definitely, because she's listening to her, because she uses like in the same way, where she's like, I don't like him like for that. Gabrielle likes him for the things he says to her about reaching for the stillness and releasing the pain.
I think she must hear Xena's words, but she just doesn't understand Xena's intent at all. Like the provocation she doesn't get. Like, it's like
totally
she
not.
just doesn't see what's going on with Xena at all. I think she even may think Xena's in the bed with her. It's like so.
Well, she's like looking off into the left side of the screen, like where Xena is like on the other side completely.
Oh, she makes this great little choice. I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Where she's talking about what she went through, that she faced the pain, her failure as a mother, which is such a upsetting thing for her to think about herself, and the guilt that she has experienced over this. And she faced that pain, and she let it go. And I love that Renee acts out. Like, her eyes follow the pain. They like move up, kind of as if she's looking through the ceiling at the path the pain took when it went away. I thought that was such a beautiful choice.
And she wishes that Xena could experience the same thing. which, you know, I believe that. I definitely believe it. And I loved actually Lucy's performance too, where she goes, she has seen inner peace in Lao Ma, but Aidan's way, and then she like searches for the word and comes up with numbing. I thought that was really interesting.
I also love that whenever she's just kind of had enough of the conversation, she goes back to sit-ups.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she's like, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that anything that looks too good to be true usually is.
Yeah. This is kind of like the Scully thing coming through here.
I thought Gabrielle was
Gabrielle is the Scully.
Yeah.
Where like Xena is like, this is too good to be true. You know it's too good to be true. Yeah.
Xena's the Scully.
No.
This is
I'm
you guys
so
are
confused.
They're yin yang guys.
Xena's
They
totally
both are the Scully.
She's the skeptic.
The Scully overlaps.
I know she's the skeptic, but like
about
Gabrielle,
religion.
Yeah, and like I
Yes.
think that like one of my favorite things about this show and about the arc that we're on right here is that I think it is an excellent addition to this show. I think that the fact that we get a bunch of religions now, or ways of life, or ways of being and being spiritual, however you want to call it, are like really, really great and like really important to the show. And so much of it works for Gabrielle here, but like also like Xena's right, this place is bullshit. Like in this instance, so like that's when you get people getting mad about like Gabrielle's, you know.
Right.
Just seeming like she's wrong. When she's not wrong.
These are the same people who blamed Gabrielle for wanting to save her demon baby, where it's like, yes, we know that the baby's evil, but Gabrielle wants to believe.
Yeah, and this is a whole show about like people like searching for, as will be repeated, like a way to be and to be, what's the correct word? Like
self-actualized.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Finding their purpose and their place. And Xena's looking for that too. She's just more ashamed of it, I think. She's not as open about the fact that she needs that thing to complete her. Right. But she does. I mean, I think it's interesting that back in the bath, she was willing to give Aidan the time of day. Like, I mean, here the second time, where like it's very clear that she's only staying for Gabrielle's sake because she knows this place is not going to give her any answers. But she's willing to accept that Gabrielle might benefit from it. Yeah, but I think it is intriguing that Xena herself was like, well, maybe Aidan could teach me something. Like, just the tiniest part of her wonders about that. And I'll come back to that idea a little later.
Cool.
But isn't it the longer she stays there, the like less she feels that? And that's why for the first day she was like, all right with staying, but like Gabrielle will stay again. And this is where Xena was like really kind of starting to be like, oh, okay.
She knows it's not for her.
Yeah.
But not only that, she knows it's bad for her.
We get more good lines like, one more day won't kill me.
Oh,
which
no.
you're like...
The irony.
I really like how this episode is written, because it's like literally telling you...
What's happening. We gotta pause for a second and talk about how good Renee looks.
Okay.
Is this the moment... I assume this was the shot that you guys meant about how she looks so soft and beautiful and lovely. She has never looked better.
It's just so conditioned.
Yeah, I think that shot where she's kind of staring off to the left of the screen while Xena furiously sit-ups. It's just, part of it is the lighting, but I think part of it is just Renee's sort of inner glow.
Yeah.
You know, she's found this place of peace.
Yeah.
I love that she delivers the lines very slowly, sort of like a person who's super high, but at the same time, like an actor who's willing to just let the language kind of breathe. And I really love the pace of this episode. I love that this scene, probably could have been cut down a whole minute, but I think you really feel like you're in that bedroom with them because it goes on as long as it does.
Oh, and then, so at the very end of the scene, you get that soft thank you. And I love Xena's little scrunchy face that she does in reaction to Gabrielle thanking her for staying longer.
So later that night, Gabrielle is just nice and peacefully asleep on her part of the bed, and the camera passes her and finds Xena kind of sitting where she was doing her sit-ups.
She's not moved.
But she's no longer doing the sit-ups. She's trying to meditate. She is still with the cage reflection on her face, and this time, though, she's kind of also basked in moonlight.
I loved how it made her hair look so blue. Really pretty. Also, as you may recall, moon is the yin. So that's Xena's side of the bed.
All right. So she's meditating and suddenly the wound on her leg reappears. I loved her reaction. She is ecstatic.
She's so happy about having a giant, gross cut on her thigh.
But then it disappears and she's angry.
Well, I think she's just angry because, less because it disappears and more because she understands now that this is an outside influence kind of imposing itself on her body, which is a huge violation. Like, that sucks so much. So I'm with her. I'd be mad too.
Next day, Gabrielle and Aidan go back to the yoga studio, and Gabrielle says that she's feeling so much lighter. Aidan creepily claps.
Does the little happy still clap? It's like... It's really strange.
Yep. He's like, that's your core emerging.
I mean, of course, he's excited for himself because this is working out.
Oh my god, Gabrielle's core emerged long ago.
Oh, there it is.
Those abs?
There it is.
So he's like, the longer you stay here, the stronger your core will get. And then, like...
Oh, it's ruined. We can't talk about it seriously anymore.
Until nothing is left but your pure essence, a radiant light. And she's like, what if it's not radiant? What if it's darker?
Always thinking about Xena.
Yeah, I love that. I love that even here, you'd think you'd be excited to be told that the only thing that's going to be left of you is a radiant light. I mean, honestly, if I were told that, I'd be like, God, no, get me out of here. Please don't reduce me to my light essence. It sounds so bad.
At first, I kind of did think she was talking about herself. Like,
yeah, I did too.
I mean, yeah, you would think that Gabrielle would maybe wonder if her essential self is not a radiant light, but something a little darker.
Right, because of how she's done murders.
And because nobody is just one thing, as we were just talking about with the yin-yang.
Well, Aidan explains that the same thing would happen, but only in reverse. So instead of a lighter you become, like, jumpy, and the darkness starts to show. You have changes in your appearance. You have mental lapses. You have delusions. And you have spontaneous bleeding.
Holy shit.
So many things.
And then he's like, it's all very unpleasant.
Yucky.
No thanks. But then he tries to reassure Gauss by saying that Xena might be going through this, but she has powerful help for defeating that dark side, and that is Gabrielle.
And then you cut to Xena in the bath.
It is the angriest bath. I've never seen anyone so angry to take a bath, and this is Xena, who usually loves baths.
It's a close-up, and her eyes are bluer than a lightsaber.
This is the debt look.
Yeah.
Yes, right. The hair is slicked back.
The debt look to kill Meng Tian.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got, instead of mud on her face, it's shadows. So I thought this was really, really cool.
It's the same shadow, right? The kind of weird...
No, this is like a different shadow. She's in a different room.
Okay, to me it looked like the same shadow. And I was like, wow, this shadow is following her around.
No. Yeah, so I feel like this one covers more of her face just to be like more reminiscent of the mud from the dead. And she's just, very, very angry.
This scene... it's very frustrating because in the previous scene where they talked, Gabrielle just had no idea that anything was going on with Xena. Here, finally, due to Aidan basically spoon-feeding it to her, she knows exactly what's going on with Xena and is trying to tell Xena that she can help her. Mm-hmm. And now it's Xena who refuses to share, and it's like flashbacks to the debt where these ladies are not talking to each other and are keeping secrets, and you're just like, no.
I love that Gabrielle comes over to her and she's kind of like, behind her, and she goes, Aidan says you could be in some trouble.
That's true. That's not a great...
She's like,
she doesn't really understand.
It's because of your dark side, which sounded like such a 90s drug PSA.
Oh no.
Yeah. She touches Xena's shoulder.
It's like your dark side.
I guess Gabrielle is meant to be a little bit condescending here because of what happens next. You understand what Xena's reacting to.
well, she touches Xena's shoulder, and she's like, well, I can show you how to be light if you want. And then Xena does a gentle hand-face caress, but it leads to violence.
This is scary.
This is really upsetting. This is maybe the most... in normal circumstances, I would say this is the most upsetting scene in the episode, but there will be one even more upsetting later, which shows just how upsetting this episode gets.
I think this one's more upsetting.
Really? This is more upsetting to you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad.
Because she starts, like, she touches her hand, she grabs her hand, and she's like, you know what I want? And then kind of keeps going, like, you know what I want? You know what I want? I'll show you what I want.
Oh, no. What I really, really want. Sorry. No, it's such a serious scene. It's such a serious scene. No.
She starts squeezing her hand.
And bending it backwards.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
it's so
Gabrielle's screaming, like, that hurts. Stop. And it's like a hard cut to reveal that none of that has to happen.
Right. Gabrielle's hand is still on Xena's shoulder.
We're still at that moment.
On TV tropes, this is called a daydream surprise.
Oh, the daydream surprise.
Wow.
I mean, I'm glad it was a surprise daydream because I did not want that to be happening in reality. This is just so, I mean, you know, we always love the tender hand-to-face caress. That's a good one. Mm-hmm. I hate seeing that used for evil. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, just having this, you know, sweet, sensual moment become violent and abusive is just really hard to watch.
Mm-hmm. It was super shocking, and then afterwards, after the delusion was over, Xena, like, nervously pats the hand.
Yeah, like,
and she's like, no thanks.
Like, trying to touch you as little as possible, okay.
Yeah, Gabrielle asks her if she's sure she's okay, and Xena goes, perfect.
Yeah, the perfect is bad, because that really sounds like her 10 years ago voice coming out to play there.
Yeah. It's really scary to have a scene like that, like, visually. Obviously, it didn't happen.
Yeah. But she thought it.
She had
it
the
was
urge.
real.
She had the thought.
Yeah,
she was angry and wanted
coming
to
through
hurt her.
because of, you know, the world that they're in. And then as well, the big through line of this episode being the, like, continued use of the prophecy, which is, you know, getting Gabrielle killed. I think it's interesting how we've been talking about this episode has these connections to Bittersweet, which also has, like,
her killing
her killing her in that world, and then the gab drag,
which was also happening in that world.
which was
right,
which
we're
did
still in Illusia. Remember, even though there's no singing, this is Illusia.
Actually, did happen compared to none of the things in this one.
That is a really good point. I mean, it's funny because Xena says, you know, I'd never hurt Gabrielle. We know she has in the past, but I think that's why she now knows she never would, because she's done it before and it was the worst thing ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's scary, and, like, I just think, you know, that this is all coming from the place of how her, whatever you'd call them, fears of what, you know, kind of person she was or could be, and that she's getting continuously bombarded with this, like, horrible vision. Like, it is just, like, the worst thing that she can think of is that she's
always
doing
like
this
she's
to
Gabrielle.
Yeah,
and
always.
The vision supports that reading of their relationship, and that's so sad because this is not who Xena is. This know what I want monster. You see that and you're like, that is not you. That is not you.
No,
and
exactly.
That's why it's such a painful thing to see.
Well, and then, well, they're figuring it out by the end of season 4. They'll figure out the right way to be.
Yay! But yeah, this is a hard scene. This is a really tough one. In part because it's so recognizable as an abusive situation. The way the violence just comes on so kind of aggressively and without warning, and because she's kind of punishing Gabrielle for being happy.
That's another aspect where it starts sweet and then just shifts.
And Gabrielle's sort of trying to appeal to Xena and help Xena, and Xena punishes her for that.
Yeah.
I definitely saw, like, it's a tough scene.
So after the bath, Xena's hair dries to a full 30.
Oh, boy.
It goes straight from 0 to 30. And she's also got some, she's sweaty. She's got the dark eyes.
Dark circles under the eyes,
And she marches up to Aidan and threatens him with the pinch.
She puts it on him.
Well, she does not put it on him. She, like, holds her fingers to his neck.
Weirdly, I thought she put it on him and it had no effect.
No.
That was my understanding of what happened.
Mm-mm. She was just, like, ready to go. That was her gun to his,
Okay.
neck.
Okay, I accept that.
And she's like, what the fuck is going on? And Aidan does his best Whoopi Goldberg from Ghost and says, Xena, you in danger, girl.
Oh, boy.
Good one.
The real Xena is emerging. So I feel like Xena's actually worried here.
I love it because she comes on so strong. She calls his philosophy and his place bullshit twice.
Horse manure.
Horse manure and bull. Because this is network TV. But you realize that beneath all the insults is this desperation. She's actually come to him for help.
Duper, yep,
she's
absolutely.
so desperate. She knows this guy can't be trusted, but she's here asking for his help. The same way she trusted Gabrielle with Najara, even though she didn't like Najara very much. You take Xena to this place where it's so extreme that she has to trust the person she doesn't trust.
She wants to know how to stop the delusions, and even as she says it, she sees one.
Yeah.
Which is her punching Gabrielle.
What is that, you guys? Is that just...
That's this episode.
That's shot for this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, I was really
Can't you tell by Gabrielle's beautiful hair?
That was what was so weird to me, because it kind of almost looked like a restaging of, like, The Reckoning. But it clearly was season 4's look. So I was like, what is that?
It's just a delusion she had, like, just like the last one.
Yeah. She wants to kick Gabrielle in the face the same way she kicked that one statue in the face.
And Aidan's like, well, there's nothing to be done to stop these delusions. And in fact, they will soon start bleeding into the real world.
Literally.
Yeah. And then she's like, you mean I'll act them out? Hurt Gabrielle? Or worse.
I love that, okay, this whole scene has been blocked with Xena pacing behind Aidan, who's just perfectly still. So you have this great comparison of, like, perfect stillness to mad pacing. He's in the foreground. He's not looking at Xena. But then at this moment, he does a dramatic turnaround with a whoosh sound effect and says, or worse. And that's how you know he's a bad, bad man.
Oh, gosh. And then, like, Xena's, like, starts to say that she doesn't believe him, but, like, she does.
Her voice cracks. She can't get the line out. It's a gorgeous choice by Lucy Lawless. I love this moment so much.
Enjoy it. Well,
yeah, gosh. And she's like, there's gotta be something I can do. And he tells her that, yeah, you can leave. Which, again, reminds me of Najara.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how this episode, if you reduced it to kind of its actual plot, which, again, is very minimal, it is the plot of Crusader, just in the sense that Gabrielle finds something, Xena is excluded, and it kind of offers Xena a way out of the relationship, which she feels like she needs to take in order to save Gabrielle's life.
But this guy's, like, so much more obviously worse than Najara.
Yeah, well, Najara was just a zealot, She was a true believer.
Yeah.
This guy, he doesn't believe any of this. He's saying it to get power over people. He's a classic abuser in that he has found this, like, outlet of spiritual power, and he's using it to, like, physically, emotionally, spiritually dominate people.
He's like it's like a cult guy in the 60s. Like,
absolutely.
Just taking these things and using them the wrong way.
I want to quickly pause here and give a shout out to a listener. Reisler has a really cool website where she writes about our podcast.
Yay!
Kind of reactions to what we've said, but she was so excited for this particular episode that she wrote the reaction before we recorded the episode and kindly shared it with us. So I totally recommend you guys, if you want just a great companion piece to this particular episode, check out her site. It's www.amongthewords.com. She has this great quote on there that if you meet the Buddha, kill him. And talks a lot about how we shouldn't trust spiritual advisors, or just not trust them entirely, not let them impose their worldview on you, which is exactly, like, literally what Aidan does with the power of his mind. And she brings up a really interesting point, which was just the Me Too movement, which started with the Harvey Weinstein scandal, and the way that all of these really powerful men in entertainment, who especially for us as like fans of media, you know, kind of look up to, and to have those people who in some ways are our spiritual advisors turn out to be not worthy of our love.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting when you, like, compare it to Aidan.
Aidan is feeding off Gabrielle's goodness, which to me sounds like, you know, textbook abusive behavior. Like, that's what it feels like to be abused. Like, you know, something's being leached out of you. I also thought that was an interesting parallel when looking at his statues, you know, which are actually his victims there. He's hiding them in plain sight. Which to me feels so like what's going on right now with the Me Too movement, where the abuses are absolutely part of the system and you see them every day.
Wow.
Back to the episode.
Where's that quote from? If you see the Buddha on the road, kill him.
Yeah, if you
I've heard that,
see the Buddha on the road, kill him. It's by a Chinese philosopher who founded the Linji school of Chan Buddhism during the Tang Dynasty.
So Xena decides to get out of Dodge. And before she does that, she wants to leave Gabrielle a little note. So we see Xena writing. This is the first time ever.
You think that she can't read or do any of these things.
Yes.
I do have to say, I've just been so trained. Like, this scene starts with a shot of the hands.
Yeah, and I thought it was Gabrielle.
I assumed it was Gabrielle. I was like, what, Xena?
Right, but then
giant letters.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, totally. Like,
the handwriting,
the bad
totally
handwriting, yeah. And then you see this like glob of blood just drop onto that scroll, and you realize, yep, this is Xena.
She had that point in the 6th season when she writes that note, and it's like XOXO lipsticks, like kiss. That's a thing,
right? Things to look forward to. What do you think? Her letter actually is like a Dear John letter. What is it?
I think it's a goodbye letter.
It's like,
She's writing it,
Ooh, I would pay money to know what the contents of that letter were. It's probably literally just, Gabrielle, I've left Xena.
I'm sure it's like not even anything because they don't know.
No,
Greek.
but I mean, what would the character write?
Yeah,
probably nothing that I want to read.
I don't know. Somebody write us what Xena is writing.
What do you
here.
think Xena put on that?
Here's a prompt.
Parchment.
So Gabrielle comes in and she's like, she says she's dying, and Xena's like, what?
Oh
no! But she says she's dying because she pulled her back, doing all the meditative poses. Yes.
This is the best scene in the
episode. This is my favorite scene in all of Xena.
Yeah, and this is part of why it's your favorite episode.
Yeah, it's I think if this scene weren't in there, it would not be my favorite episode. But because it is, it's my favorite episode.
Take it away. What's going on?
I think you should talk about it.
Okay, well, first I love how excited Xena is to give this massage, not just because, you know, she's always excited to get her hands on Gabrielle, but just because she says, like, I can fix this, like, in this really excited way. Like, here is finally something in this world that I can fix with my own two hands.
I can help you.
But first she had to, like, quickly get rid of her note.
Right.
And, like, wipe her nose and hands
The note
and stuff.
just disappears out of the scene somehow. And, then we have this, like, really, I don't know, deeply psychological dilemma, which is that Xena really wants to give a great massage, but she also doesn't want to bleed all over Gabrielle.
Right. And we see that, like, her nosebleeds are not, they're real, but they're not real. Because it drops on the parchment, but then it's not there.
Yeah. But it is there.
It goes away.
No,
I swear it disappears.
It definitely...
I would accept that. I mean, the spontaneous bleeding, according to Aidan, seemed like a real thing in the same way that the spontaneous physical changes seem like real things.
I swear it's not on the parchment.
But it's on her foot.
Maybe it's a CGI mistake. Yes, it is actually.
And also it's on her face the entire time.
To me, part of it, you know, it feels so like Xena's perspective and
Don't take this away from me. This is the best aesthetic for Xena. Please let it be there.
Okay, all right. We'll definitely allow it.
So, Continue.
So we remove Gabrielle's shirt, of course. So,
Of course.
so that we get the bareback situation again. It's very sexual.
Yeah.
I think even more than the other time where we felt like she was just facing away from Xena to preserve her modesty.
Yeah.
To me, this feels like...
This is beautiful.
This is half sex scene, half... like, I don't want to get my bodily fluids on you because they'll infect you scene.
Yeah.
Like, it's so
Yeah.
interesting.
We were talking earlier about the idea of being stained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which to me, so you have this sort of, like, sexual desire, but also almost, like, fear of that sexual desire. Again, like, I feel like you could write just a whole paper about just the whatever taboos and
This episode
psychologies.
is crazy in terms of how you could write just so many things. You could write a billion essays about
Is this the best
episode.
bottle app?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, Katie's favorite app won against
Yeah,
an
that's
army.
the
is
best
this
one.
technically a bottle up.
Can you write all those essays about it?
And in fact, I mean, One Against an Army was the bottle up for season 3. This is the bottle up for season 4. They're both amazing. I think what it teaches you, and this was going to be my kind of final note at the end of this podcast, but what the heck, I'm going to say it now, is that, I mean, what makes the show classic and amazing is just reducing it to the relationship between Xena and Gabrielle and cutting out all that outside stuff.
Yes.
That's why both these episodes I think are so amazing is that they have this laser focus about this one issue.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for me, like what kind of brings it ahead of One Against the Army is because the setup for all of season 4 has been all of season 4. Like, and that's what's like One Against an Army is a standalone, and the issues that Xena is dealing with in this massage scene has just been set up like already for so many episodes. It's just continuous.
It's just such a beautiful image for what Xena's always like, kind of the internal struggle of Xena, which is I don't want to share all of myself with Gabrielle, but now it's just leaking out of me.
But she
and
already,
I don't want it to touch her.
But like she already metaphorically like bled all over her. Gabrielle is covered in blood because she's already murdered so many people. Like that's Xena's infection right there. Like it's so good.
Ooh, it's so good.
Continue.
Yeah. Okay, so she's giving the massage. It's going so well so far. Gabs is really enjoying it. But then first drop of blood comes out of Xena's nose, falls. She catches it just in time. And as it falls, we have a flash to the vision.
Yeah, this intercutting is the best.
It's incredible.
So it's like
really cool.
We have intercutting of Xena, then we have Gabrielle, then we have Xena's hands, then we have like her blood, and then sometimes we have like extreme close-ups of her nose area and her mouth, and then also the vision.
Which is also pretty extreme in terms of the close-ups, at least at first.
Yeah.
So I love that you have blood drop falling, in this case onto Xena's hand, intercut with a stake being lined up on a hand with the henna design on it.
So we got some new imagery.
This is new imagery for The Vision. This is not directed by TJ Scott.
Whoa, Rob!
This is new footage, and of course, in the previous version of the scene, this henna design wasn't here. So this is a new kind of piece to the puzzle, which is the Vision. But I just love that visual echo of the blood drop landing on Xena's hand in reality, if you can call Aidan's world reality, and echoing that with the nail lined up on Gabrielle's hand in The Vision. I think that's so gorgeous.
You mentioned echo, so one thing that is also happening during this is that Xena is giving a speech. In this first part, she goes, "We've come a long way, the two of us, and you've taught me a lot about kindness and mercy." Then you have that extreme close-up where the blood comes out, and her speaking is like what actually makes the drop go. And she whispers, "and love," and that's when the drop falls.
And that's when the drop falls. It's like a drop of love, but it's blood, and it's violence.
Yeah, this happens. This shot happens twice, and they're both like both the lines that it happens on are just so like powerful. So next part of this, go for it.
So then we get the other the second blood drop that falls. You get the other hand from the vision. Same deal.
Gabrielle's hand.
Yes. Well, we still don't know that, though. I think that's a safe assumption to make.
Yeah.
Again, Xena catches it before it can hit Gabrielle. And now we realize that she's changed her massage. She's now massaging Gabrielle's hands, the very places that in the vision are getting violently
staked.
Yeah. So I thought that was, she's healing her with her hands, but visualizing destroying her with her hands.
Yeah. And as far as Xena goes, like, I love how kind of, like, gross she is, right? I mean, like, it is gross.
It's
like,
so
she's
gross. Her nose
bleeding.
blood.
She's bleeding, like, yeah, she's catching her nose blood, and as she's, like, frenetically trying to be cool about it, right? So that Gabs does not notice anything's weird. She's just like wiping it on her like clothes.
Yeah, she has nowhere else to put it.
It's just
to me, this is just, I don't know, there's something nightmarish about the logic of this. Because how do you hide? I mean, she's bleeding so much. Like, it's hard to believe you could really hide this from someone. But something about that nightmare logic, you just buy it. It just feels like a deep psychological fear that like you need to hide this thing that's exploding out of you because the person you love cannot see it or they will die. So, okay. Finally, some noseblood falls on Gabs. It hits her foot. And there's a decision that I saw some fans kind of complaining about. I personally don't mind it, which is that you get the CGI drop of blood kind of superimposed over the vision of Gabrielle on the cross. And it kind of hits her feet, which is exactly where Xena is lining up a stake to hammer it home. And
Wait,
this is where
why would people have a problem with this?
they just didn't like. They claimed that the blood drop looked like a sperm. That it was just a really bad CGI blood
whatever.
drop.
I mean,
It
it
took
was
them out of the moment.
okay. That's
so
really
like,
silly.
but the visual and the concept there
It's so cool.
Yeah,
Again,
come
just
on.
this to me is just so original. Also,
Yeah.
I haven't used that word yet, and for me, that's very much a word for this episode. I think this whole idea is super. Like, I just haven't seen any of this stuff on TV before,
no.
and yeah, this dream sequence to me is so compelling that like.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's just such a great metaphor for this relationship and just for everything that is always going on in Xena's mind. I've never felt like I got Xena so viscerally as I do in this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You mentioned how she was previously kind of like massaging her hands, as in the vision, clearly the stake was going to go in the hands. Then she started moving and she went to the feet, and like that's where she says, "You've got a good heart, Gabrielle. It's pure and it's honest, and no one should ever hurt you." And you had that extreme close-up of the mouth and the blood coming out, and the whisper of "no one should ever hurt you" again.
Repeating it.
Yeah, where the blood falls. I also really love kind of like the reveal that the Roman soldier that's going to put the stake through her feet at that moment
Is Xena.
is Xena. Like, you see the arms, like you see Xena's outfit, and you're like, whoa, like that's the nail catches the blood. And then Xena hammers it in, and that's where, like, the last shot of it, like, out of the vision, out of everything, is just that one tiny drop of blood dripping down Gabrielle's foot.
Right.
One
Which is such
final
a violation. And
yeah,
yet it's just
one
this
makes
little
it
thing.
down there. Like, it's just so powerful.
And also just literally the symbolism of, like the stakes that are going to nail Gabrielle to this cross. Xena already feels responsible for this simply because she knows that it's her presence with Gabrielle that's going to lead to this. Yep. She feels like she's driving those stakes home, and the idea that those stakes are literally the darkness inside of her coming out to like be that force that destroys
so
Gabrielle.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So she's
like, bye.
Yeah, she wipes it and she's like, bye-bye.
She's like, okay.
And Gabrielle is 1,000% asleep.
Yeah, just lulled into a state of total bliss as usual.
So Xena goes out and she's in the garden. I love that, like, the first image of Xena in that garden is her shadow.
Yes, so good. So good. Good job, Rob. Oh my god. And I love she throws down a lotus flower that clearly she had kind of like balled up in her hand. The lotus is Gabrielle. So there you go. She goes from hurting Gabrielle to hurting Gabrielle.
Yeeps.
She notices that one of the statues has a medallion and then calls for the little crazy dude. His name's Gar. So she's like, Gar!
Yeah, and she's doing her, like, Hulk routine.
Yeah, this is weird because suddenly you switch to Gar's perspective almost. Yeah. Like, Xena's kind of cut out of this sequence. You just see Gar running around in this woods.
He's scampering in the bushes.
Yeah, I know. There's probably, like, I feel like they don't even have woods. They just have, like,
it's just like
a 4-foot stretch of bushes for him to run back and forth going, ah!
And she says some weird stuff to him. She's like, Piggy, come here. The longer you take, the madder I get. You don't want to make me mad. You wouldn't like me when I'm mad.
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, and then she's like, Piggy, Piggy, Piggy.
Yeah, it's
really crazy. So now I do recommend watching this scene with headphones because they pan the all her lines. So they go like in your left ear and then your right ear.
So it sounds like she's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And you're
like
feeling like Gar is
this definitely felt to me like Xena had become, the monster in a monster movie. Where you can't see her, you only see the people freaking out about her. And it's like she's everywhere.
Yeah, so she goes like, I won't bite. And he goes, not yet. I know you won't bite. Not for a while.
I had questions about this, because obviously this line implies that Gar is familiar with this transformation that Xena's going through, that I guess other people in his platoon maybe became this demon.
I thought it was him.
Really?
I don't know.
I mean, it didn't seem like he...
somebody must have...
Somebody got this far. It doesn't seem like it was Gar. It's confusing. So I was like, what happened to the other ones? The other monsters?
Right, and they made it seem like if you go through this transformation, like, you'll be able to kill, like, everyone.
Yeah. So maybe Aidan has some way of countering that or disposing of those people.
So he, like, crashes right into Xena's leg, and so she obviously gets him, and... she tells him, so she figures out that the statues were Gar's platoon ones. So they were real men.
And she asks, what happened to them? And he's like, nothing. Nothing. That's what happened. So here, Gar is equating this kind of spiritual nirvana that Aidan claims he's giving people with nothing. They're just getting nothing. A state of non-being is what they're working their way towards.
And he says that Aidan leeches the goodness out of people.
Which she's been saying all along.
That's true. She's like, yes, justified. Aidan's the worst. Hooray.
And then he warns Xena that she shouldn't try to fight Aidan because he'll take what's good that's still in you and use it against you.
I admit I kind of wanted to see that.
Yeah.
That didn't quite happen in the episode. It's such a good warning. I was like, ooh, Aidan really is a scary villain, because that sounds upsetting. Because we've already seen so many upsetting things where Aidan has manipulated the things that Xena loves and used that against her. So I wanted more of that. That's, I guess, one of the issues that we're going to have with the climax, which we're not quite at yet. So let's hold off.
Right, because it hasn't been 2 hours of us talking. So let's hold off on that climax.
I really want to talk about that line where Gar says that goodness in a perfect place going to waste without evil to keep it alive and fighting. That is like a travesty for him. You can't have good just sitting there. Mm. And this is sort of what we were talking about earlier. I have the line from Chris Mannheim about her, I suppose what must be her life philosophy that she's trying to get across here, which is that she doesn't believe that good can be passive. It's not enough to do no harm. It's not enough to be passive and not hurt anyone else. I think good has to be proactive because evil certainly is proactive. And when good's asleep, evil triumphs.
Interesting. That's complicated statement.
It's not exactly expressed, I feel like, in the episode. Like, I mean, I guess I see how Gabrielle is kind of making a choice to be passive. That is in some ways what's happening to her. I don't know if she really made the choice. She made the choice to trust Aidan and assume that this would help.
Yeah.
She thinks it's going to lead to some kind of activity, to healing the world, to teaching other people.
Yeah.
But it's being used in this way.
I'm not sure like what Chris is saying in that quote. Like, it just sort of seems like a defense of, you know, Xena being violent or something. Like,
I think Chris is okay with her smiling.
Which you know what I mean? I'm not sure, like, 100%, like, what is there? I mean, there's no answer to these huge questions, but, like, you know, when you're talking about, like, something like violence and nonviolence, like, as a response to something, you know, like, aren't there things where, like nonviolent protest can be more effective?
Well, is passivity
the same? That's not the same thing,
right? Yeah. I think it's possible to be active and nonviolent at the same time. Right. I mean, I think maybe that's Gabrielle's struggle, is how do you do that? How do you be proactive and nonviolent? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then again, we've mentioned this a lot, but we are talking again about a action television show, and it's very hard to reconcile sometimes a lot of these things when you are here for the action entertainment.
Yeah, and of course it's about to come, and that's one of the maybe problems with this episode, is that Xena defeats this guy who has vast spiritual powers by fighting him. You know, it's a little silly, and it doesn't quite seem like the way to resolve the issues in the episode. But we're not there yet.
I just randomly thought of how this season ends, and I just gonna melt into the earth.
Yeah, that's gonna be a 3-hour long podcast for sure.
Oh, are you talking about that episode that Renee directed?
No. Well, actually, I mean, like, fucking you guys, this is again what this show is so great, because it just has so much stuff in it. It just has so much stuff in it. Like, I know you're kind of like making light of the finale, but like we were talking about like stuff we're gonna get into really soon.
Yeah,
like
reincarnation and
not yet.
We're not. I mean, it's just
we're just talking about yoga today. Just yoga.
There's so much, but no, I meant the way of friendship. Okay. That's all.
All right. So one thing about the conversation with Xena and Gar. So he's like, he'll take what's good still in you and use it against you. And she goes, then I won't give him the ammunition. And guys, the word ammunition was first used in 1607.
Oh, come on. You know there's plenty of
anachronistic. Do you know what show you're watching?
I don't know. That one really struck me.
Out. Yeah.
You was like that one.
It's true. If you don't have guns, what's ammunition? Yeah.
So Xena plans to let go of any good that's still left in her to fight Aidan.
I want to know what that process was. This is one of those moments. I think it's a really cool idea. I don't have a problem with her deciding to fight Aidan by sacrificing herself in this way. And I love the idea that you can embrace your dark side as an act of good. Like, she's trying to save Gabrielle by doing this.
This show has done this better.
Yes, it's definitely done this better. Even recently it's done this better with Crusader.
The Price.
Or the price.
Like, where you, I mean, you do literally go, like, she says, well, if, like, I'm going to sacrifice me.
This is a sacrifice that Xena is often willing to
and
make
this is just
for people.
A different way of doing it that I don't think is the best.
And it's certainly visually not the best.
Yeah. That, I think, for me, that's the main criticism. I'm okay with the idea. I think, especially in this episode that has been such a distillation of Xena's essential themes, like having Xena embrace her dark side by literally turning into a monster, feels okay to me. My issue is really just an aesthetic one, where like this particular look for the monster is.
This is the worst.
Rob has regrets.
He not fucking is better, because this was the worst choice, like maybe
and
ever.
What's one of the quotes like? That's one of those things where you look at it and go, "What was I thinking?" Something like that.
Didn't he essentially just go like, Lucy just really loved the tea?
Yeah, it sounds like Lucy was a bad influence here. Lucy wanted some prosthetics. She wanted to go to town, and it's one of those moments where you need to put on your kind of director hat and go like, what's gonna look and read best in this? Yeah. Previous to this pretty damn serious episode.
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, it's one of those moments where you're like, no, tell her no, stop her.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of complaints, and it's why it's not in my top 10.
Yeah.
I'm still keeping it up there because, I think it's the mark of such a strong episode that I can kind of just mentally edit this out.
Well, you could stop the episode at this point because the best part is
I do like
massage.
things about the end. Like, I'm willing. I think the ideas are right. I really just think it's the execution that's wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to be like, okay, you know, like I'm imagining a much scarier version of Xena here. I saw people on message boards say, wouldn't it have been cool if she just turned into, you know, was wearing her 10 years ago warlord outfit and strode into that room to confront
Aidan. Oh, would she have delusioned it onto her body or something?
Yeah, like that just became who she used to be.
I don't think she needed that outfit, but she could have acted that way.
Yeah.
Well, that's
she could have acted that way while also bleeding out of her entire face.
Right.
I think
that would have been pretty freaky.
Like
some
that's
J horror.
Scary.
Yeah. The alt.tv boards, like, they were just being straight up mean. And I kind of feel like part of me is kind of like straight up mean about this, because this was just like way too much.
Oh, like, listen, I don't know how you can be okay with this.
Because you know that she's amazing, and she's amazing in this episode. Like the hand squeezing scene, like, that's terrifying.
It was so scary.
That's a scary. Like, her face is scary. She can be scary, and this is just like ridiculous.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of in Lord of the Rings when Galadriel has that moment of fantasizing about taking the ring and turns into a green monster for no reason, when you have Cate Blanchett there, who you know is perfectly capable of turning into a monster, like, with no help, like literally no makeup, no lighting differences. She'll just do it with her face.
Right.
And you're just like, why would you do
why
that
would you do
to
this?
an
Why would
actor?
you give her these rabbit teeth and reptile eyes and like,
don't forget the hair that
to
is
120.
It breaks
it broke the scale.
Yeah, it breaks it.
I mean, again, I'm with you guys, but it just like I love the episode. I love the idea. I love Lucy so much that I'm willing to give it a pass because I get what the intent was, and I really just wish they had another crack at this, because I do think, like, the idea is interesting, and I like that she turns into a monster. Like, I think it goes with the body horror that we've seen throughout the episode, but not this monster.
Not this monster, not this particular design.
I guess, like, I mean, I know we're done kind of, like, talking about how much we hate it, but Olivia likes it.
Maybe less bouncing around as well.
Oh, my God. One more comment is that she's already a monster, like, on the inside, so, like, I just...
Or thinks...
No, she is. And therefore...
Debatable.
Therefore,
we don't like you just stating that.
I think that's what makes it more powerful, like, as a show, if you...
She's embracing a potential. Will you allow that?
But how do you explain her past? That is a monstrous past. She's a monster.
She has a very intense past.
Like
if I think I said this before, but, like, you know, if, like, you were looking at this person now, and I would be like, please put her
on
into
trial
jail
for war crimes. 100%.
Exactly.
Yes. I guess it's just hard because monster is so reductive in the same way that you'll turn
Gabrielle
into,
says I'm a monster in this episode.
Light, radiant light. Yeah, I mean, this is me going back to the yin-yang, where it's like people are both things. You know, you can be a monster and a human being simultaneously.
Yes.
That's Xena, literally the show you're watching.
Yeah.
So anyway, the whole, like, physical, becoming, like, a physical monster is, like, so stupid, because, like, you definitely don't need that. Well,
whatever.
So back in the yoga studio.
It's a fucking tortoise, Vera.
Back in the yoga studio, Gabrielle's in the bow pose. I hope it's bow and not bow, because I don't know.
It doesn't matter, really.
So I'm assuming it's a bow.
And bow?
Yeah.
I thought you said boat.
Nope, it's not the boat.
Like
it's
tied into a bow?
I guess so. Or like when you string a bow.
This is when
she's like,
I think you're right, because she's shaped like the bow.
Yeah.
I will accept this.
So she's peaceful doing that, and Aidan's like super creepy now. He's like, "You're very powerful, Gabrielle. The sooner you tap that source, the sooner we can use it to change the world. Now sink deeper and deeper."
How long did Renee have to be like this?
Like every take.
Yeah, it's really impressive. She did a great job. Mm-hmm. I also love that the lighting here is getting kind of blue.
Right. So so this is the same yoga studio we've been in the entire time, and like it's like one spotlight. It's dark around them. It's not great now. Not great.
Paradise isn't paradise after all.
Is lost.
Sad.
So meanwhile in the garden, oh gosh, this is Xena's full-blown cuckoo bananas transformation. And she does this by killing the birdies and the bunny? That's what creates the monster.
That's how she embraces her inner monsters, by killing some animals.
Yeah. And
it's real silly.
The turtle survives. Just acts as a chakram pinball machine.
Yeah, again, not the greatest. I kind of preferred her crushing the lotus in her hand earlier. That was cool.
But you knew those little animals are going to get it.
I mean, they were annoying, so I do get it. But it definitely feels a bit Looney Tunes. And yeah, that's not necessary.
Literally.
Not the potent psychological symbol of the blood falling on Gabrielle's naked back. It's hard to believe these two images are in the same episode.
At least she didn't act like a stooge.
Yeah.
It could have been worse.
It really could have been worse.
So she enters Aidan's house and finds him sitting on Gabrielle.
Yeah. On her feet.
Yeah.
I thought it was scary.
I mean, yeah, it's not great.
It sounds funny when you describe it that way, but it kind of reminded me of these Buddhist art, where you see these things that look, really inspiring and beautiful, and here you understand that it's a guy like dominating a woman, and I thought that was really upsetting.
In the context of this, yeah.
Yeah, in the context of this episode. Yeah.
So Xena throws the chakram at him, and he stops it with his mind, and poor sweet little Gabrielle Bunny's blood drips down.
I love that it was still there. The bunny flesh.
Oh, that was gross. When she kills that bunny, the fur and bits.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing that makes it maybe good, is that it's a little bit gross. It's not pure cartoon.
So Aidan then proceeds to throw Xena around with his mind like a rag doll, kind of like Hulk did to Loki in the Avengers.
It's a pretty good analogy. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I like that the way that you cover this scene is there's these very static shots of Aidan with his eyes closed, getting closer and closer to his eyes. But it's always static, and it's always a little bit tilted, which is how you know he's off-kilter evil dude. Yeah. We talked about that technique being used for Callisto back in the day. And then when you have Xena, the camera's always so handheld and shaky. So I liked, again, kind of going back to that earlier scene, Aidan's stillness versus Xena's wildness.
Aidan gets up to get Xena's last goodness.
Ooh, I like this moment. This is the one moment I like in this dumb scene.
Oh my god.
I know. Well, it was fun to see finally kind of the mantle of the teacher fall away from Aidan. Up to now, he's still sort of kind of being above it all and, inner peace, keeping it all contained. And here he's suddenly just grabby hands, let me feed on you, sweet goodness. And you're like, oh my god, he's actually awful. You're visually seeing it rather than just kind of having it implied that it's there. So I liked that, and I was actually scared of him. And I love the way Rob shoots this with kind of just the hand reaching for Xena's face. It was very scary.
But surprise, bitch, there's no goodness left. She killed that bun in the garden.
Everybody knows once you've killed one cute bunny, you're gone.
And she throws him into some vases, and then she proceeds to roll over to Gabrielle.
Times roll.
Yeah, she rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls.
And then proceeds to scream in her face,
Gabrielle! Then was it just me, or she didn't say Gabrielle? She said Gabrielle.
I don't know.
Couldn't, maybe the bunny teeth didn't allow her to say it. But
she has really crazy red lipstick, all around her. And then, she had lipstick on the bunny teeth.
That's a good detail. That makes me like it slightly more.
So, no response for Gabrielle because Gabrielle has She blew herself.
She blew herself! Oh, I'm so glad you made that joke. It kind of goes with I'm a monster. Also from Arrested Development. Good job, good job.
Xena did it first.
So Aidan begins to weaken, and he like jumps on Gabrielle's feet to recharge.
I can't believe he sucks goodness out of her feet. It's totally crazy. I love it. I admit this is one of the parts I like.
Oh gosh. And he like mentally makes Xena's brain hurt a lot.
I love this because he's using Gabrielle's power to hurt Xena. Well, that upset me. Nobody believes me that there are parts of the sequence that are good, but this is one of them.
You're pointing them out to me. I admit I hadn't thought of these.
I can't help but say, even if you say these things, I'm like, but she still looks that way.
Just
very
imagine she looked different. Okay?
Okay.
Why is it so hard?
So she she pulls clumps of hair out. That was really intense.
That's what happens when your hair goes off the scale.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Pulling it right out.
So she taunts him. She's like, come on, you rat bastard. Come do it yourself. And she grabs a sword, goes after Aidan. And she sees Gabrielle. And then is like, wait, never mind. I'm going to go kill you.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, I guess that's like the rabid dog. Like, whatever is in the field of vision is what she wants to attack.
And then Gar jumps out, and he's like, no, don't do it.
And she attacks him instead, lifts him up, and concocts this really elaborate murder scheme in which she's going to pick up the sword with her feet and throw him down on it.
She's going to skewer him onto that sword. And that's when Gabrielle wakes up, and she's like, Xena, no! So Xena kicks the sword straight at Aidan and kills him kind of like in that same move, like Buffy killing Angelus.
That's true. He's
2.
reaching out with the hand going like, oh no, I've been
then
sorted.
Falls.
Yeah.
What?
No, that made no sense whatsoever.
When?
Nothing like
She
her
just
stabbing
deliberately stabs
Angel.
him.
No,
You
but like
are
the same,
tripping.
the sword was like right in his stomach the same way.
It was
No
just
way.
in the same place.
Yeah, the same place.
Like, that is just
that's
nowhere.
That's the only visual that
at all,
that's what pinged me.
0% comparison.
Can I just say, this is a bit of a rewind, but I actually really like the way they visualized Gabrielle turning into the statue. I know we mocked it with the she blew herself.
Yeah, it's cool.
But I like that it's not CGI. It's just a sound effect, this sort of creeping, rocky noise. And you just see that they've kind of done the makeup more and more, but they're not animating it. It's not like the makeup's kind of like creeping over her skin. You're just supposed to kind of visualize
that everything's better when it's practical.
Yes.
It looked really good. I just liked it. Yeah. I knew it was a cheap way of doing it, and I liked that. I liked the cheapness.
Xena's plan pretty risky.
Very risky.
So many things could have gone wrong here.
So Aidan's dead. He's been sorted.
Good.
And Xena kind of falls towards Gabrielle.
Katie,
Would
you like to take over?
Katie.
Well, I would like to say that, like, my favorite part of how she just, like, collapsed in front of Gabs, and then they touch foreheads and all that, and there's some hand holding and whatnot, and it's all very nice. But, like, my favorite thing about this forehead touching moment is when Gabrielle actually, like, looks at Xena, who is still kind of, maybe she's still at, like, a 90.
Oh, God.
And she laughs. She fucking laughs.
See, doesn't that make you
it's like a laugh
like the monster?
It's like a laugh.
You could never use these shots in anything.
It's like she's relieved, all this is over. But she's also looking at this face of this, like, really just hilarious looking Xena and just, chuckles. It's the best.
I mean, that's liberation there.
Yeah.
That's pure and radiant light.
So
you don't need yoga. You just need to look at a hilarious looking Xena.
Hilarious Xena and laugh.
Okay.
So Aidan melts.
Yeah, he literally melts.
He melts like into some sand.
And some bones.
Right. I was gonna say like Clyde Bruckman from the X-Files.
Oh,
but,
good.
More exiles.
Yeah, and
His
the
house
whole
melts.
house kind of like melts. The visual for the house melting is more like kind of like paint dripping, like water, kind of watercolory into the cave. We're revealed to be back in the cave, as we sort of mentioned
Apparently,
before.
we never left.
Yeah, this was all an illusion.
An illusion.
And Gabrielle is naked again.
Because she was wearing Aidan's clothes, which didn't exist.
The hot little number belonged to Aidan, huh?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Gar is also there, and so she's forced to kind of like jump right behind Xena and hide behind her.
This is very cute.
This is so cute, and I love that like the scene kind of continues with Gar giving you kind of a lot of exposition, but none of it really registers because the real point of the scene is like Xena trying to protect Gabrielle's modesty and maneuver towards the clothes. Like that is the actual content of the scene.
Yeah.
And how they're like closer, over to the left.
So yeah, I mean, this is where she kind of reveals her big plan about her risky plan.
A very risky plan, yeah. I mean, Gabrielle could have been just like completely not conscious of anything going on around her.
But she trusts. She knows that that's the one thing that will always call to Gabrielle.
Yep.
Which
the
is
murder
that,
of an innocent.
exactly.
Yeah.
Her trying to murder Gar woke her up.
Yeah, it's the exact same circumstances, Crusader, where Gabrielle stopped Xena.
Yeah.
Though there that was from killing Najara, who was more like the Aidan figure. It's
Right.
interesting that Aidan getting killed here is not a problem.
Because he's the worst.
He is 100% the worst. He's way worse than Najara.
No,
Najara,
for sure.
Najara is a
Najara
complete
is-
human
Yes.
creation with a lot of...
Thankfully, we don't have another Aidan episode. Jesus.
No, I didn't need to see him again. But I think he's a quite effective villain.
Sure.
He's more of a symbolic villain. He's
Right.
not a human. He's a
Yeah.
force.
So then Gar's like, whatever, I have a wife and kids, bye. And
I like that moment where it's really cute. He like remembers. You're literally
Yeah.
seeing him remember that he has a family.
he's only been there for like 10 years, right? Because that's when...
That's true.
10 years ago, he
Aidan
started
says
this
that's
whole
when
thing.
he went into operation.
He seems like he's been there for like 30 years.
Yeah, he really does. But that's partially the losing of the sanity in the world that Aidan created.
And Xena and Gabrielle have both learned something about themselves.
That was funny in this episode. That was so much about kind of looking within. The fact that Gabrielle at the end like says like it's a shock. Like I learned something about myself. I was like, girl, where you been? And I love that she's like in you and Xena in this like really like no shit way.
Yeah.
It's like yeah.
And then she's like, I sometimes talk about your darkness like it's some sort of disease. But without it, neither one of us would be here. It's kind of ironic. Don't you think?
It's like, Ray! No, Alanis, this is not your time, Alanis. I do really love that she does say, she equates Xena's darkness here to a disease, because that's what that scene, the massage scene was about. So that's a cool way of calling back to it, even though it's actually repudiating it and saying that's not what it's about. And that is part of why I like the ending, is, having Xena embrace her darkness in an episode that was treating her darkness like it was an actual contagion. Feels nice, and it feels very connected with this idea that you need dark to balance light. And to be a balanced human being. And that's always Xena's struggle, is learning how to accept that this is a part of herself and something that she can use to do good.
And the final line of the episode is...
Do I really have hands like a sailor?
Yes, you do!
Does she, though? She gives good massages. We saw it. We saw her, like, hit the right spot. And it was very apparent.
Sure, she hits the right spot a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe she's a really good sailor. Does really good knots.
So yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
I've already done all my final thoughts over the course of the episode, so I literally have nothing more to say.
No more to say. No, I think despite not enjoying the climax, I really love the concepts that are introduced to the universe in this one. The soft golden light and how everyone looks is just incredible. Yeah, and I think that it's a good kickoff to the the India arc, which is going to be an interesting journey for the podcast. But I think it's really, really great that they're introducing a bunch of like really interesting concepts for these two characters that I think are really important.
The blood vision massage is amazing.
It's so
literally
good.
Like you can't, it's
so
good.
It's such a good
the
scene.
Editing,
I think this weird combination of like new aginess and body horror, I've just never seen that. Like it's just it's so good. And then also this really like powerful sexual element that is present in the scene.
And also just the whole concept of like Xena being abusive to Gabrielle is just unheard of, kind of like when you think about a show like these are two best friends. Two women best friends, like that's an amazing thing that they keep an amazing theme that they keep
it's very
coming
taboo,
back to,
but very important. It makes sense for the characters, considering that so much of the show is about violence.
Yes.
Like you can't have this relationship between these two women without tackling the subject of like what role does violence play in that relationship.
So good. All right, we can wrap it up. I think.
It's 3 hours later.
Yep.
We hope you enjoyed listening. And if you would like to listen to more, find us on our website, xenawarriorpodcast.com. All the episodes are there, and Apple Podcasts, that's the place where you can rate and leave reviews. Really helpful for us. Love hearing from you, and it helps people find the podcast. We are doing more stuff on Patreon, which is patreon.com/Xena Warrior Podcast. More podcasts, more fun stuff there. And what else?
Merch?
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, Xena did it first. We're always saying it. And if you want to proudly display it, you can find our shop on Redbubble. The link is on the website. And all the social medias, Facebook, Tumblr, Xena Warrior Podcast, and Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod. More commentary, etc. If, there's probably stuff that we didn't say or we'll elaborate on yet further on all of those sites. Or if you have, questions, comments, leave them there. The end.
The power.
The passion.
The podcast.